Your jaw tightens before you even notice it. The cursor blinks like a metronome of failure. Your phone vibrates twice, and a thread of heat climbs your neck. You scroll, skim, toggle tabs, and that tight band around your temples says, "We're already behind." Sound familiar? Here's the shift. Focus isn't built in marathons. It's built in tiny, repeatable resets that steal your attention back from the noise in under a minute. You'll learn how to interrupt the spiral, rewire your reflexes, and create momentum without summoning mythical willpower. When the next ping tries to own you, you will know exactly how to return to choice in your body, in your breath, and in the next 10 seconds that decide the rest of your day. Picture this: a fluorescent afternoon, stale coffee, the clock a little too loud. Your inbox jumps from 41 to 53 in a blink. You promise yourself you'll just check one message, then reply to that chat, then peek at the group thread. 20 minutes go missing. Your chest feels crowded. You tell yourself a harsh story. You're not disciplined enough, not driven enough, not something enough. That story sticks because your nervous system is broadcasting static. It's not a character flaw, it's a signal. When your amygdala senses threat, deadlines, judgment, uncertainty, it yanks blood from the part of your brain that plans and prioritizes. The trick is not to argue with biology. The trick is to hold a tiny door open long enough for the prefrontal cortex to sit back down at the table. This book is that door, and we start with the smallest hinge. We call the first hinge the one breath back. It is exactly what it sounds like, and more than you expect. Inhale smoothly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for 4. Exhale through pursed lips for 6. As you exhale, imagine the heat leaving your face and the muscles around your eyes untying their knot. That longer exhale tells your vagus nerve you are not in mortal danger. In 15 seconds, you reclaim a slice of executive function. This is not meditation. It's a circuit breaker. You are telling your body, we are safe enough to choose. Try it now. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice the temperature of the air on your upper lip as it travels out. Notice the shoulders fall a half inch. Focus is not the absence of distraction. It's the skill of returning. The fastest way to practice returning is with what I call the tiny reset loop, or TRL. The loop is simple. Notice the wobble. Breathe once. Name what matters for the next 2 minutes, and begin. That's it. Not the next quarter, not the rest of the afternoon. 2 minutes. You will be tempted to negotiate with yourself, to design the perfect system before you start. That's your perfectionism trying to avoid discomfort. TRL cuts through that by making the target small and immediate. 2 minutes is light enough to lift even when you feel heavy. I want you to meet Arun. He works support for a growing startup, the kind where tickets never sleep. On a Monday, he promised himself a deep focus hour to write a tricky report. At 9:03, a Slack thread exploded. At 9:07, a customer escalated. At 9:11, he was half reading the report template with 13 tabs open and a gentle panic fogging his vision. He pressed his tongue to the roof of his mouth, felt how hard it was, and remembered 1 breath back, 4 in, 4 hold, 6 out. The pressure in his forehead softened like snow under sun. He whispered, 2 minutes. He wrote the first awkward sentence of the report. A minute later, the momentum felt real. He set a timer for another 2 minutes, then another. At 9:31, he had a page. The crisis had not vanished, but his brain had returned because he taught it how to come back. Why this works is not mystical. The amygdala is a fast pattern matcher built to keep you alive. It's hypersensitive to uncertainty. When notifications multiply, your reticular activating system, the filter at the base of your brainstem, starts flagging everything as urgent. If you never train it, it keeps flooding your field of view with low-grade alarms. Tiny resets are like tuning that filter. When you breathe with a longer exhale and choose a single micro-target, you create a prediction your brain can easily fulfill. Your RAS updates. Oh, this is relevant. This is the thread to highlight. In a week of practice, you'll notice more of what helps and less of what hooks you. That is neuroplasticity on a human scale, not a lecture, but a repetition your brain can encode. Let's make the reset even more tactile. Place one hand flat on your sternum and one on your lower belly. Feel which hand rises first when you inhale. If it's the upper hand, you've been breathing shallow, telling your system that we're sprinting. Shift the breath down. Feel the lower hand move like a tide. This is your anchor. Now pair it with the focus tile, a tiny mental square you lay down on your mental floor. A focus tile is not a project. It's an action you can finish in under 2 minutes. Rename the file, write the subject line, sketch 3 bullet points of the argument, highlight the date. You'll want to pick 5. Don't. One tile at a time. Lay it down. Step onto it. Feel the texture of doing one thing well. When you step off, you lay another. By noon, you'll have a path across the day. Your mind may mutter that this is too small to matter. Smile at that voice. It's doing its job, guarding your identity. For years, you may have told yourself, I'm either on or off, all or nothing. Tiny resets force a new narrative. I am someone who returns. Identity isn't a declaration. It's proof collected in micro moments. Each reset adds a tile to the story of you. When the old story argues, use the phrase switch. I'm having the thought that this is too small to matter. Create that distance. You are the awareness, not the thought. The space between you and the thought is exactly where choice lives. You'll feel this in your body first. The jaw unclenches without fanfare. The breath moves deeper into the belly. The eyes soften their hard focus and widen by a degree as if a window just cracked open. The skin on your forearms cools as adrenaline recedes. It's quiet, not dramatic. That quiet is where focus grows. The next email still exists. The next obligation still exists. But they no longer own your hands. You return to the tiny tile in front of you and move it forward by 1 honest inch. Now, a second framework, the 90-second weather rule. When a strong emotion hits, frustration, shame, urgency, treat it like weather passing through. Set a 90-second watch. For the first 30 seconds, breathe 4-4-6 and label the weather out loud. Heat in my chest, urgency in my shoulders, tightness in my temples. For the next 30, ask a 2-question reframe. What actually needs doing in 2 minutes? What can wait? For the last 30, choose the smallest wise action and begin while the timer still runs. You're not suppressing emotion. You're escorting it. Blood flow returns to the prefrontal cortex. The storm moves east. Consider Janelle, a medical student studying in a noisy apartment. Every distraction felt personal, like the world conspiring against her future. One night, the neighbors argued. A pot clanged, a bass thumped, her heart sprinted. She pictured her future collapsing, which made her breath catch and her hands tremble. She remembered the weather rule. She stood, put her palm to the wall, and tracked the thrum with the timer running. 30 seconds to breathe. 30 to ask the 2 questions. The smallest wise action became a simple decision. Noise-canceling playlist, 20 flashcards, 2 minutes. The thump did not disappear. Her panic did. 90 seconds later, she was a person studying in the presence of noise, not a doomed story. People assume motivation precedes action. In practice, action builds motivation like kindling builds flame. Tiny resets leverage the physics of friction. Starting is the highest friction point. 2 minutes is enough to slip past it without grinding your gears. Once moving, you continue not because of a promise, but because momentum reduces the cost of continuing. Your dopamine system samples success. The brain stamps the loop as worthwhile. You are literally teaching your reward circuits that returning to focus is pleasurable, not punishing. That's why "without willpower" is not a trick phrase. It's a different energy source. Instead of yanking yourself by the collar, you're aligning with how your biology wants to learn. Take this into your morning. Before you touch your phone, stand barefoot and feel the cool floor under your heels. Let the texture tell your nervous system you're here, not in the digital storm. 1 breath back. Choose your first focus tile. Maybe it's opening the draft you fear. Maybe it's setting a 25-minute container. Maybe it's copying an outline. Begin. If the mind offers reasons to delay, nod and say, "Thanks, brain," then add, "I'm having the thought that I should check messages first." You do not argue. You lay the tile and step. You will be surprised at how quickly resistance melts once your hands move. The afternoon will test you. Fatigue makes the amygdala louder. That's when you add a body reset. Stand, roll your shoulders slowly, feel the vertebrae stack. Rinse your face with cool water and sense the temperature change across your cheeks and jaw. This is not a spa break, it's input to your interoceptive map, updating your brain's model of safety. Then, a 2-minute tile. Choose the smallest hinge. Rename the chapter, bold the subhead, draft the first sloppy sentence. The sequence is the point. Body, breath, tiny action. It takes less time than scrolling once through a feed, and it pays you back with an hour you wouldn't have otherwise owned. You will slip. You will find yourself 15 minutes deep in avoidance, reading about someone else's morning routine. Good. A slip is a chance to strengthen the loop. Notice the wobble without scolding. 1 breath back. Whisper, "Return." Pick a tile and start before your inner critic gathers its committee. If the critic insists, invite it to sit in the corner. You are not silencing it. You're redirecting resources to what matters now. The critic is weather too. 90 seconds, and it passes. You are the awareness, not the weather. Let's formalize the practice you'll start today. Set 3 TRL moments on your calendar. 1 at the top of the morning, 1 after lunch, 1 in the late afternoon. Each is a 90-second window. When the reminder chimes, pause whatever you're in, hand on chest, hand on belly. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6. Name the next focus tile out loud. Begin the first stroke of it while you still feel the air leaving your lungs. 2 minutes. Stop. Take a 10-second breath break. Ask if momentum wants another 2-minute tile. If yes, stack 1 more. If no, move on with permission. The power is in the returning, not in grinding. I want you to notice a subtler shift. When you place your awareness in the body and choose 1 tiny step, time changes shape. It stops being a wall you slam into and becomes a corridor you can walk. That corridor is made of sensations, the weight of your forearms on the desk, the warmth of your laptop keys, the scent of coffee fading in the air. These are anchors, not distractions. They prove you are here. From here, your best thinking becomes accessible again, not because you forced it, but because you created conditions where it could show up. Tonight, before you sleep, do a 2-minute harvest. Close your eyes and replay the day as a path of tiles. Do not judge missing tiles. Count the ones you placed. Feel the breath slow as you name them. That counting is not vanity. It strengthens the identity that makes tomorrow easier. You are someone who returns. That's the story we are authoring together, one tiny reset at a time. If doubt lingers, put it in your palm. Feel its weight, the way a stone warms with your skin. Ask it for one courtesy. Give you 120 seconds of quiet while you lay one tile. You don't need to win an argument. You only need to begin. The rest follows, not because of magic, but because of mechanics. The brain loves patterns. Offer it this one. Repeat until it becomes your native language. As you end this first session, sense your breath again. Inhale to 4, hold to 4, exhale to 6. Notice the jaw soften and the base of your skull loosen. Notice the shoulders drop. Name the first focus tile for after this chapter. Begin it now if you can. If you can't, write it on a sticky and place it where your hand will land. That is your contract with your future self. Small, kind, and kept. When the next ping hits, you'll already have a plan. Not a dramatic plan, a tiny one, a breath, a tile, a return. You are the awareness, not the impulse. You are the author, not the notification. And you're only ever one tiny reset away from unstoppable focus. You woke up to a blinking world and a hungry screen. Before your feet found the floor, your thumbs knew the weather, the headlines, the mild disaster in someone else's life. A tiny surge of adrenaline, then the quiet drain. This is the morning drift, the first theft of attention. Today, we wire in a different start. Part 1 gave you the one breath back and the tiny reset loop. Now you'll build architecture around them so the resets aren't heroic moments but ordinary reflexes. Think of this chapter as laying rails. Your job is no longer to push the whole train. It's to lean it onto tracks that already point where you want to go. Begin with a framework I call Cue Collapse Commit. CCC is a 3-beat reset to break task bloat into a single, honest move. The cue is a specific trigger you can't miss: the laptop lid opening, the chair settling, a calendar chime. At the cue, you collapse the project to the smallest observable action, the size of a focus tile. Then you commit aloud. In a voice you can hear, open the draft and write 20 clumsy words. Your brain's prediction machinery loves closure. When you set a tiny, finishable prediction, your reticular activating system tags everything else as less important for the next 2 minutes. You are not bargaining with motivation. You are editing the menu the brain can't see. CCC turns a foggy work on the proposal into a snap-fit name the file, write the opening sentence. Let me show you CCC in a Tuesday kitchen. Leo is a high school science teacher, and lesson planning leaks past dinner. He dreads the online gradebook. It has become a symbol of all the ways he's behind. Tonight, as the kettle warms, he leans on the counter and stares at the shining rectangle of his laptop. The cue is clear, kettle click. He breathes 4 to 4, 6 once, then collapses the task. Write one sentence of feedback for Mia's lab report. He commits aloud. The sound of his own promise cuts through the ambient noise of his evening. 20 seconds later, he's typed a line, then another. The kettle hums low. He notices his shoulders soften, the tiny steam ghost rising from the spout, the warmth against his knuckles as he pours. CCC didn't shrink his career. It shrunk his next step. Safety returns to the system, And safety unlocks execution. As you read, feel the chair press into your hamstrings. Unclench your toes in your shoes. Let your tongue rest at the floor of your mouth and notice how the base of your skull releases by a few degrees. This is not decoration, it's physics. When you soften these micro muscles, you are stealing a drip of energy back from your threat response. With that drip, we'll add a second framework, the RAS retarget ritual. It takes 1 minute and gives focus a homing beacon. Write a single line intention in present tense. I am the kind of person who returns to the next 2-minute tile. Then list the one cue you will honor today, the collapse you will use, the commitment you will speak. Place the intention where your eyes land when you lift your gaze. Sticky note on the monitor's lower bezel, not tucked in a notebook where good wishes go to sleep. Each time your eyes brush that line, you refresh the filter that highlights what matters now. A story to pin this. Dana runs operations for a small nonprofit. Her days are meetings braided with fires. By 3 p.m., she feels like a browser with 30 tabs and no sound, just a hum. She started placing her RAS retarget note at the bottom of her screen. Return to one tile. Her cue is the calendar ping. Her collapse is pre-written. Type the subject line for the donor email. Her commitment is a whisper because the office is open plan and loud egos perform on speakerphone. She notices the whisper grounds her. It pulls the action close, like she's talking to a friend, not a task. After a week, something subtle appears. She sees the word subject before she sees the chaos in the inbox. The brain shows you what you instruct it to expect. She is not suddenly superhuman. She is simply steering the searchlight. Pause. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 6. Sense the coolness in your nostrils compared to the warmth on the out-breath. Feel the weight of your hands resting wherever they are. Notice the small temperature gradient across your forearms, cooler on the side nearest the air, warmer where the skin faces your body. This 30 seconds is a deposit, and deposits compound. You are not your storms. You are the awareness that notices the weather pass. Let's carve a deeper groove with the focus tile ledger. A ledger is a running tally, not a plan. You open a blank note or a plain paper card and draw a vertical line down the middle. On the left, the tiles you laid today in the order you laid them. On the right, the effects, not the judgments. Renamed chapter file, felt less fog. Wrote clumsy intro, found the main metaphor. Closed 3 tabs, eyes softer. Each tile earns 1 line. Each line is a receipt. The ledger converts intangibles into proof your nervous system respects. Grit is hard to count. Gentleness is hard to count. Tiles are easy to count. And identity tracks what you count. If you count only misses, you become a chaser of lack. If you count tiles, you become the person who lays them. You will be tempted to turn the ledger into a productivity spreadsheet with color codes and conditional formatting. Resist. The ledger lives because it is humble and visible. Keep it as analog as you can stand. Tape it to the inside of your laptop or lay it under your keyboard where the heel of your palm can feel that it's there. Let it pick up smudges. Each smudge is a story your brain will remember when it needs a reason to return. The ledger is not a scoreboard, it's a mirror. When you glance and see the path you already built today, your RAS flashes a small primeval banner, safe to continue. Feel the breath in your lower belly again. Roll one shoulder forward, then the other, as if you are loosening a sweater that sits a little tight across your clavicles. Notice the faint tug where your neck meets your back, Let that area melt a centimeter. The more you practice pairing tiny actions with body awareness, the more your nervous system learns that doing is not danger. You are training a dog, not arguing with a judge. Treats, not lectures. Next, we'll set boundaries that don't require courage every time. Enter the two-window method. You are allowed two windows, physical or digital, for the next hour. One is the work window, one is the reference window. Everything else sleeps. If you need to peek at a third, it must pass a CCC test. The cue snaps, you finished a tile. The collapse is explicit, open one reference document, and the commitment is to close it before you begin the next tile. People hate this rule until they try it, because it exposes the real bleed, context switching. Your prefrontal cortex can change tasks, but every switch taxes the system, like lifting a weight from the wrong angle. The two-window method is not aesthetic minimalism, it's neural ergonomics. Consider Ava, a designer and new parent whose nights are taped together by baby monitors and hope. She prided herself on fast multitasking, but speed had become sludge. She tried the two-window rule for one afternoon, Figma and a single Dropbox folder. That was it. She felt claustrophobic for 15 minutes, like the room was too small. She noticed the heat behind her eyes, the urge to just check. She named it. Weather. One breath back. Then something quiet happened. Time thickened. Her cursor stopped skating and started carving. The shape she had been trying to see emerged. When the monitor flashed, she didn't flinch. She placed a focus tile in her ledger, finished icon set sketch, and then checked, then returned. She didn't become a different person. She became the same person with fewer open loops. The difference feels like sitting and drinking water when you didn't know you were thirsty. Stop for a sensate check. Brush your fingertips together and listen to the barely audible fabric sound they make. Turn your head left and right slowly. Notice the tight side, the open side. Let your exhale be longer than your inhale again. Time expands here. The room becomes more three-dimensional. Your choices gain depth. There is one more architecture piece, the boundary bell. It is a literal bell, chime, or gentle tone you assign to one specific boundary, often the hardest one. Ending a work block, not opening messages, or saying no to a meeting without an agenda. The bell rings at a pre-decided time or event, and your only job is to honor what the sound means. Sound becomes a contract. The brain trusts sound. It is evolutionarily older than calendar entries. Pick a tone that feels neutral, not scolding. When it rings, stand and say the boundary aloud. That block is done. Or no messages for 25 minutes. Or no plan, no meeting. You're not being harsh. You're being clear. Clarity is circulation. It returns blood to the parts that build. A Neighbor's Tale. Rafi is a freelance developer and rescuer of projects that started with swagger and ended with pleading emails. He would accept every call, answer every 9 p.m. Tiny favor, because he thought responsiveness was the only edge he had. He set a boundary bell on his laptop to chime every day at 6:30 p.m., labeled Last Outbound Reply. The first week, the bell made his stomach tighten. It felt like leaving money on the table. He breathed 446, named the feeling as just weather, and spoke his rule aloud. By the third week, his clients respected it. The boundary advertised reliability more than availability did. He noticed the texture of his evenings change. The light felt warmer on the kitchen tiles. The food tasted less like fuel, more like food. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors that you decide when to open. Now that you have CCC, the RAS retarget note, the focus tile ledger, the two-window method, and the boundary bell, string them into a reset circuit. The circuit is a timed ritual you run twice a day, once at the start, once mid-afternoon, 3 minutes total. Minute 1, 1 breath back plus CCC on a tile. Minute 2, write the tile in the ledger and scan the last 3 entries for pattern recognition. Minute 3, check the RAS note and clear to 2 windows. If a boundary bell is near, announce it now, pre-committing in your voice. You will think rituals are a luxury you can't afford when busy. That is the mind's old math. The new math knows that consistent short rituals generate more clear minutes than they use. This is not ceremony, it is maintenance. Notice your skin where it meets the air, a faint, cool film at the wrists. Imagine the warmth of your next cup of tea or coffee passing through your throat. Half a second later, the warmth spreads along your sternum. Visualize that spread while you exhale. The nervous system listens to imagery as if it were happening. You can simulate safety on purpose. This is not pretending. It is practicing. Let's address the old critic who insists you've tried systems before and they failed. Yes, you tried to fix yourself with grand designs when you were tired and scared. You tried to adopt someone else's routine, someone else's body and budget and calendar. This time you only adopt the part of the routine that fits in 90 seconds. That is how habits become identity. You give your brain a reason to believe that this is what we do here. You are the awareness, not the voice that sneers. When it sneers, you run the 90-second weather rule. When it quiets, you lay a tile and write it in the ledger. You're building a belt of evidence around your waist, and it fits a little better every week. An evening scene to close the loop. Noor is studying for a professional exam while working full-time at a clinic. She keeps failing to start after dinner, the couch pulling like a tide. She tries a reset circuit at 7:30 p.m. The cue is the hallway light switch. She breathes 4-4-6, collapses the task to review 5 flashcards, and commits out loud. She sets her 2-window rule, flashcard app, and 1 PDF. She rings a tiny ceramic bell that once lived on her grandmother's shelf and announces, "Messages sleep until 9. The living room smells faintly of cumin from dinner. Her hands are still warm from washing dishes. She feels the cotton of her sweater at her wrists. She is not in a montage. She is in a small room taking a small action, and that's enough. 30 minutes later, she has 5 tiles in the ledger. She closes the book without drama. The couch is still a couch. She is still a person. But the balance has shifted. She trusts herself a little more because she kept an agreement that was proportioned to a human nervous system. Before you end, give yourself a sensory bow. Spread your toes inside your shoes, press your heels into the floor, feel the ground answer back. Inhale for 4, pause, exhale for 6. Whisper the commitment you will carry from this chapter. At each cue, collapse and commit. Place your RAS note where your eyes will land. Choose your boundary bell and set it. Open your ledger and write your next tile on the left. Leave the right side blank on purpose so you can record the effect after you lay it. This is not about willpower. It's about wiring the smallest true action to the body of someone who returns. If you start to drift tonight, remember the tiny physics, sound anchors, breath widens, touch grounds, language directs. You are the architect now, not the accident. You are the awareness, not the impulse. Each reset is a stone in the road you're building under your own feet. and the road is already starting to feel stable. You don't lose entire days to big catastrophes. You lose them in grains. A glance that becomes a scroll, a question that becomes a rabbit hole, a buzz that becomes a reflex. Part of you knows this and still feels powerless when the micro hooks appear. Today, you'll learn to pull the hooks out cleanly. We'll practice catching distraction in the half second before it hardens, and we'll turn that half second into a place you can stand. This isn't about swearing off the modern world. It's about building a mind that moves through it with clarity. You'll get a new framework, the distraction dissection, and a simple compass you can carry in your pocket. We'll pair them with drills that fit inside 90 seconds, because focus that depends on perfect conditions is a focus you cannot trust. Start by noticing how a distraction feels in the body before it becomes a story. The lure has a texture. Your gaze tightens. Your breath climbs to your chest and shortens by a beat. Your tongue presses into your molars. The temperature behind your eyes warms a notch. That's your amygdala lighting a match. When you catch those signals, most systems tell you to clamp down harder. Clamping is just another fight. Our move is gentler and faster. Distraction. Dissection is a 3-move sequence: name, number, nudge. You name the impulse out loud in simple language. Urge to check. You number the urge on a 0 to 10 scale without judging it. You nudge your body with a 1-breath intervention and a micro-action that belongs to your current focus tile. The naming engages language networks that quiet the limbic surge. The number gives your prefrontal cortex a knob to adjust. Quantifying reduces vagueness. The nudge reassigns your hands to what matters now. Try it with me. Imagine the phantom buzz. Name. Urge to peak. Number. 6 out of 10. Nudge. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6. Then place your cursor at the start of the sentence you're writing and type 3 ugly words on purpose. Not genius words. Ugly ones. The ugliness signals safety. You won't be punished for beginning. As you exhale the 6 count, notice the cooler air pass your nostrils and the warm exhale spill across your upper lip. Feel your shoulders sink by half a centimeter. That shift is your nudge landing. It takes less time than tapping the notification, and it keeps the loop intact. You'll question whether naming and numbering are anything more than mental tricks. They are not tricks, they're levers. When you name an urge, you recruit Broca's area and dampen amygdala output through top-down modulation. When you put a number on it, you give your dorsal anterior cingulate a simple monitoring task. As the number drops, it reinforces your sense of agency. Agency is the antidote to anxiety. Anxiety thrives on vagueness. When you feel yourself regaining a sliver of choice, the RAS stops painting everything in hazard yellow and begins to highlight the thread you intended to follow. This is the mechanics of self-trust, not a pep talk. Let me bring you to a Wednesday cafe where the air smells like cinnamon and milk foam. Matteo, a grad student, promised himself he would finish a methods section. He opens his laptop and the corner of his eye catches a headline about a celebrity meltdown. He's halfway to clicking when he feels that forehead heat. Urge to check, he whispers, embarrassed by the intimacy of talking to himself. 7. He breathes 446 as the espresso machine hisses. He nudges his hands to type the sentence stem. Our sampling design. His fingers feel thick at first, then they warm with motion. 30 seconds later, the 7 is a 4. He wonders if he cheated because the urge didn't vanish. He wants purity. Purity isn't the goal. Direction is. He steers back each time, and his brain learns the feel of steering. Pause here. Place your feet flat on the floor, even if you're standing. Feel the ground answer. Let your jaw hang for 1 second, then bring your teeth close without touching. A millimeter of space that tells your brain you're not biting life right now. Unstick your tongue from the roof of your mouth and notice the coolness along the sides. The room becomes more three-dimensional when you do that. The air sits on your skin like a thin river. These signals, weight, space, temperature, are not trivial. They're inputs your interoceptive map uses to label this moment as safe enough to think. Now for the pocket compass. I call it the NSEW Focus Compass. Now, simplest enough, why? It's a 2-breath check you can run anytime your mind fuzzes. In the first breath, ask now, what belongs to this exact moment? Not the big project, but the tile. In the second breath, ask simplest, what is the simplest version I can do in 2 minutes? Then glance at enough. What will be enough to call this tile done? Finally, whisper. Why? Why does this matter to future me in 1 sentence? You are not writing an essay. You are orienting. NSEW gives your RAS a heading. It keeps you from solving problems your fear invented 5 minutes from now. It also shrinks the field so your internal critic has less space to roam. An office story to anchor the compass. Priya is a product manager balancing a sprint review and a founder who texts like a metronome. She keeps losing the thread of her slide deck. She feels the heat in her cheeks and the itch to push pixels around and fake progress. She runs NSEW. Now, the opening slide title. Simplest, choose 1 verb. Enough. Land on a verb that makes the action clear. Why? So the team knows what they're doing by the second sentence. 2 breaths later, she writes, decide, not discuss, and the slide becomes a decision page, not a dumping ground. The choice takes less than a minute and saves an hour of drift. The compass didn't add pressure. It removed the fog. Check your breath again. Inhale to 4. Hold. Exhale to 6. Notice the muscles at the base of your neck where the first ribs meet the spine. If they're tight, imagine them warming like wax under gentle light. Roll your shoulders and feel the shirt slide across your skin. Your focus is a full-body event. Your body is not the enemy of your mind. When you include it, the mind stops wasting cycles fighting its own carrier. People sometimes ask, but what about interruptions I can't control? You can't control some, but you can tame their afterglow. Interruption residue is the cognitive haze that lingers after you stop, like a smell in a room after someone leaves. For that, we use the micro-closure ritual. It has 2 beats, a sentence and a touch. When an interruption ends, say 1 sentence to the person or to yourself. We paused at X. We'll resume at Y. Then place your fingertips on the last object you were touching when you stopped. The keyboard home row, the pen you were holding, the page you were reading, and feel texture for 3 seconds. That touch rebinds your motor map to the task. The sentence tells your narrative mind there's a container, so it stops chewing on unfinishedness. Your working memory clears faster. Your RAS stops spotlighting the interruption because it has a new pointer. Here's how it works in a clinic hallway. Liana is a nurse who juggles charting with hallway consults. Each consult leaves a fog and a heartbeat spike. She tries the ritual. After a family's question, she says, "We paused at medication review. We'll resume at 11:20, writes the time, then returns to her station and places her fingers on the keyboard, feeling the shallow dip of the F and J keys. 3 seconds of texture. She feels absurd. Then she notices the fog thinning. The charting picks up where it left off. She hasn't changed the clinic. She has changed her exit and re-entry. Let your eyes soften their gaze. Instead of drilling into a single point on the page, widen your peripheral field. See the edges of the screen and the shadow on the desk. Wide eyes signal safety to your midbrain, the opposite of target lock. You can narrow again for the tile, but practice both. Your nervous system is a lens. You can zoom and unzoom with intent. If you've ever tried to stop doom scrolling, you know the pendulum effect. The more you forbid, the more you crave. Distraction. Dissection bypasses prohibition and builds a relationship. When you name an urge and give it a number, you're telling yourself the truth without flinching. Then you offer it a job. You can come along while I write 12 words. The urge doesn't have to vanish to let you work. Paradoxically, letting urges be present while you move makes them dim faster. You are shifting from internal war to internal choreography. A relationship moment to show this. Outside of work, Jamie and Ro have an old pattern. When schedules collide, they both reach for their phones and check out. One night, dinner is late, the pan smokes, the sink is full, and Jamie feels the scroll magnet. Name. Urge to flee. Number 8. Nudge. 3 slow exhale-heavy breaths. Then, instead of scrolling, Jamie touches the counter with full palm and says, "I want to bail. I'm going to rinse these plates for 2 minutes." The plates go under warm water, and the warmth moves through Jamie's fingers into the forearm. The 8 becomes a 5. Rose sees the plates moving and breathes too. The point wasn't heroic love. It was a tiny act that kept the connection in the room. After the plates, the conversation picked up, not because they forced it, but because safety returned to both bodies. Focus isn't only for documents, it's for people. There's another layer to add when the distraction is internal and sticky. Ruminative loops that pretend to be necessary thinking. For those, use the thought label swap. I'm having the thought that, plus a concrete cue to return. The phrase creates a wedge between you and the story. The cue brings your hands back. Add a sensory anchor if the loop is loud. Cold water on your wrists, feeling the drip roll over the bone, or pressing your thumbnail into your fingertip until you feel a clean, non-painful line of pressure. The brain respects physical edges. When you give it one, it lets go of imaginary ones more easily. Feel the skin along your forearms now. Is there a faint breeze? If so, name it. If not, notice the stillness. Both are data. Let your exhale make the tiniest sound, a whisper, to give your vagus nerve something to ride. Then place your attention in your hands and imagine them getting warmer by a degree. Even if the temperature doesn't actually change, the intention draws resources from your alarm system back into motor circuits. You prepare to act, not to argue. You might fear that all these micro steps will slow you down. They will for seconds, and then they will make hours flow. Think of a musician tuning before a performance. Tuning is not a delay. It is the precondition for music. You have been trying to play while out of tune, forcing harder and resenting yourself for the noise. Distraction. Dissection is tuning. The focus compass is tuning. Micro-closure is tuning. The music is the work that follows, smoother, because you didn't skip the first step. Let's put the pieces into a live drill. Choose a task in front of you, or remember one from today. Close your eyes for one breath and see the task. On the inhale, ask now. On the hold, decide simplest. On the exhale, define enough. Whisper, why on the next inhale. Name any urge that appears, number it, and nudge your hands to begin the first 2-minute stroke. When the 2 minutes end, place one line in your ledger and write the effect you felt, even if it's less dread. If an interruption hits, speak the micro-closure sentence and touch the last object. Then re-enter with a single exhale. The entire choreography is a few heartbeats stacked. Once your nervous system learns the sequence, it becomes muscle memory. You will run it without theater, like checking your mirror before changing lanes. A final story for today. Chen leads a small remote team across 4 time zones. The Slack pings feel like hail. He decides to block Do Not Disturb for 90 minutes each morning, but breaks it on day 2 when a VIP message lands. He spirals, ashamed, and almost abandons the idea. Instead, he tries distraction dissection in real time. Name, urge to please. Number 9. Nudge, breath and a single keystroke in his proposal draft. He also runs NCW. Now is the executive summary. Simplest is one sentence. Enough is a messy line. Why is that the proposal decides runway for the team? He lays the sentence. Dread drops to a 6. He sets micro-closure for the VIP. We paused at budget assumptions. I will respond at 11:15. Schedules the message and touches the keyboard ridges for 3 seconds. The urge doesn't vanish, but it loses command. 4 days later, the VIP thanks him for clear expectations. Chen didn't become colder. He became clearer. Clarity is a kindness that focus offers the world. Breathe once more. Feel the chair under your hamstrings or the ground under your heels. Notice the micro-vibration inside your calves if you've been standing. Let your eyes soften. Let your hands rest heavy for a moment. Then wake them with a tiny wiggle of each finger. You are the awareness noticing these details, not the gusts that pass through. Each time you return, the path back gets shorter. That is the quiet promise of neuroplasticity. Repetition carves ease. Before you move on, choose one practice to carry for the next 24 hours. Maybe it's distraction dissection each time you reach for your phone. Maybe it's NSEW before opening your inbox. Maybe it's micro-closure after every interruption, even if the interruption is your own thought. Say it out loud. Write it on a sticky. Put it where your eyes land. Then lay one tile now, even if it's microscopic. Rename a file. Draft a subject line. Type the first clumsy words. Count the tile in your ledger, and note one effect. Let the counting change your story about yourself, because the story you repeat becomes the person you become. You don't need iron discipline. You need a handful of tiny agreements kept in the body. Name, number, nudge. Orient with now, simplest, enough, and why. Close the loop with a sentence and a touch. These are not tricks. They are bridges. Walk them enough and you will trust the other side exists even when the weather turns. You are the awareness, not the impulse. You are the author of return, one breath and one tile at a time. You've met the moment-to-moment tools, a breath, a tile, a return. Now we build stamina without slipping into grind. Endurance in focus isn't made of hero hours. It's made of how you handle the seams between tasks, the dips in energy, the friction that makes you reach for escape. Today, you'll construct a foundation, a daily layout your nervous system can trust. Think of it as designing a studio for your attention. You'll anchor 2 new frameworks, friction sculpting and the energy map. These aren't life overhauls. They're subtle edits that shave seconds off decision fatigue until hours loosen and become generous. Start with friction sculpting. Friction is the unglamorous physics of behavior, how easy it is to start the right thing and how awkward it is to start the wrong one. Most people try to white-knuckle their way through high friction, then blame character. You'll do the opposite. You'll move tiny pebbles so the river runs your way. The method is simple. Remove, reduce, reroute. Remove one click from what you want to begin and add one click to what you want to delay. Reduce the visual noise in your field of view so the brain doesn't have to sort. Reroute temptation out of your hands with a pre-made parking lot. In 90 seconds, you can alter the starting gradient of your next hour. Let me bring you into an apartment kitchen on a clean, cold morning. The counter smells faintly of citrus from last night's wipe down. Aisha is a marketing analyst who wants to draft a campaign concept before meetings begin. Her pattern is to open the laptop and land, hypnotized, in the inbox canyon. Today she tries friction sculpting. Remove. Her email icon moves to a hidden folder. Her draft doc is pinned to the dock. Reduce. Sticky notes are cleared from the bezel. One card remains with 3 words: tile, breath, begin. Reroute. She creates a temptation parking lot note that literally holds links she wants to click later. Time-stamped, so her brain feels it won't lose them. She inhales for 4, holds, exhales for 6, and her hands move to the concept doc because it is one click closer. It feels like cheating. It is the honest kind. Pause and sense your body. Notice the temperature at your collarbones, where shirt meets skin. Feel the micro weight of your eyelids as they soften. Let your shoulders melt a fraction toward the floor. The room gains depth when you allow this. Focus lives in bodies, not in clouds. We make friction sculpting tactile with 2 micro drills. First, the night before nudge. Before you sleep, put tomorrow's first focus tile artifact where your hand will land. A file open on your desktop, a pen on the exact page, a pair of shoes by the door with a note inside them, 1 breath back. The second is the mouse trap. Tie a short loop of string to your mouse or trackpad edge. Loop it around a small card that reads, tile? You can still move the mouse easily, but you must brush the card to use it, a haptic whisper that re-asks the question your mind forgets. These are ridiculous until they save you an hour. Now, your energy map. We pretend our energy is flat across the day and then punish ourselves for the lie. The nervous system runs cycles, ultradian rhythms of 90 to 120 minutes, dips after meals, crescendos when light hits your retina in the morning. Mapping your peaks and troughs is not spiritual, it's logistics. The method: track, tag, trade. Track your perceived energy and clarity at 4 points each day for 1 week. Morning, late morning, mid-afternoon, evening, on a simple 1-10 scale. Tag 1 kind of work to each zone. Deep build for your highest clarity. Light lift for administrative and shallow tasks. Social flow for collaborations. Maintenance for cleanup. Trade mismatches without drama. If your energy map says deep build is 9:11 a.m., defend those edges and move meetings where the map can hold them. A story to pin this. Kavya is a data scientist who thought she was a night owl because she did her best creative plotting at 10 p.m. That's because her days were chewed by meetings. She tracked for a week and discovered that her true clarity peak ran from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. The night trick was just quiet. She used trade, moved 2 recurring stand-ups to the afternoon, protected 90 minutes in the morning with a shared status note so nobody wondered where she was. The first week felt defiant. On day 4, she noticed the smell of coffee differently, nuttier, and the texture of the keyboard became familiar again. Her deep build tile that day, Model Sanity Check Script, landed in 30 minutes. She was not a new person. She was her original person in the right window. Breathe again. Inhale to 4, hold to 4, exhale to 6. Feel the floor push up gently against your heels. Listen for the faintest sound in your environment. A vent, a distant car, the hum of a light. Let it be there while your breath lengthens. This is your nervous system, learning that safety and focus can coexist. The energy map comes alive with the Sanctuary Minute. A sanctuary is not a monastery. It's a 60-second reset at the threshold of your deep build. You close the door if you have one. If you don't, you close the digital doors, messages off, 2 windows only. You bring your attention to 3 exact sensations: the coolness at your nostrils, the weight of your thighs on the chair, the warmth at your lower back. You call your first tile by name. You begin the first keystroke or pen stroke while the exhale is still leaving. That sequence, sensation, naming, contact, teaches your system that this doorway is predictable. Predictability lowers amygdala chatter. Lower chatter returns blood to the part of you that thinks in systems, not alarms. What about days when the map says peak, but your mood says no? That's where we use the warm start. Warm start is a tiny pre-task that carries almost no risk of failure, but is adjacent to your deep build. If you write, your warm start is to copy over yesterday's last paragraph and tweak a single verb. If you code, your warm start is to run the tests and read one failing message without fixing anything yet. If you design, your warm start is to duplicate the artboard and change the color of one element to something absurd, just to feel movement. Warm starts feed momentum without demanding genius. Momentum returns dignity. Dignity is the fuel you keep trying to buy with punishment. Anecdote for the warm start: Omar is a junior engineer who has been quietly avoiding a refactor that feels like moving bones. On a Thursday with rain printing its slow pattern on the window, he tries warm start. He runs the test suite and reads one failure. He writes it down on a card. Edge case null on user init. He does nothing else for 60 seconds except breathe out longer and feel the raised ink of the card edge under his thumb. Strange peace. Then a small curiosity returns. He is not fixed. He is warmed. Check your sensory field. Are your palms dry or slightly tacky? Can you feel the seam of your sock against the outside of your little toe? If you can't feel it, that's a sensation too. Absence has texture. Let your exhale lengthen. The quiet is your ally. We're going to make seams, the transitions between tiles, safe with the 2-step landing. Most people finish a tile and fling themselves into the next, or they drift and are captured by noise. 2-step landing is a 20-second ritual. End, intend. End by naming what changed. Paragraph drafted. Query tested. Client emailed. Intend by choosing the next tile and touching the first object of it, the document title, the brush tool, the phone keypad, without starting. This touch is the promise. Then you may stand, sip water, stretch. When you return, you are not redeciding, you are re-entering. Decision is the exhaustingly expensive part. Reduce decisions, increase entrances. Consider Lena, a librarian at a community college whose day is a tapestry of checking in returns, helping lost freshmen, and building resource guides. She began ending each micro-task with end, intend, tapping the next browser tab's title bar before stepping away to answer a question. The next time she sat, she felt her fingers remember before her mind did. It felt like a friend laying out clothes the night before, quiet and kind. Her evenings grew less brittle because she hadn't waged as many internal wars. Breathe once more. 4 in, hold, 6 out. Notice the cool line of air across your top lip. Let the mini vibration in your calves, if you're seated, make itself known. This noticing is not escape. It's a reset that makes choosing possible. The critic may ask, isn't all this ritual just procrastination dressed up? The answer is in outcomes. Rituals here are faster than the avoidance they replace. A sanctuary minute replaces 15 minutes of dithering. End intend replaces 10 minutes of tab wandering. Friction. Sculpting replaces a day of blaming. If a ritual expands beyond 90 seconds, you've slipped into performance. Bring it back to the body, back to a breath, back to a tile. There's a final architecture piece for this chapter. The 3-track day. A day with 1 track is brittle. A day with 10 is chaos. 3 is the sweet spot. Build, sustain, restore. Build is your energy map's peak. 1 to 2 blocks where you lay the tiles that move your life forward. Sustain is the long stretch where you handle the necessary churn. Email, status updates, errands with 2-window discipline. Restore is 15 to 30 minutes where you intentionally downshift the nervous system, not by numbing, but by repair. A walk without audio, a hot shower, observing the sensation of water on skin, a quiet tidy that lets your eyes rest. You define these tracks in 15 words each on a note card so your brain can hold them in working memory. Then you live them imperfectly, and you count tiles instead of fantasies. A story from a crowded life. Marisol is an events coordinator with 2 kids under 6 and a schedule that looks like a game of Tetris mid-meltdown. She adopted the 3-track day not as a calendar redesign, but as a lens. Build became 45 minutes after drop-off, door shut, phone in another room, ledger open. Sustain became 3 blocks sprinkled across the day with 2-window rules and 90-second weather sprinkled like salt when she felt urgency rise. Restore became a 10-minute shower after bedtime where she practiced noticing temperature and breath, giving her vagus nerve 1 clearly marked sanctuary. She found herself less brittle when the unexpected hit, not because life simplified, but because her nervous system had at least 1 time per day when it was not negotiating with a threat. Notice the weight of gravity on your shoulders. Let your shoulder blades slide down as if pockets behind your back had magnets. Hear a far-off sound and then let it recede. You are training your lens to widen and narrow on command. This is the opposite of getting lost. We'll connect this all with a simple paper tool, the focus rail. Draw 3 boxes on an index card. Label them Build, Sustain, Restore. In each, write 1 tile you intend to lay today, not 5. 1. Keep the card visible. When you complete a tile, draw a small rail line under it, a physical underscore. At night, you look at the rails and say aloud, "This is who I was today." Your identity listens. It does not need fireworks. It needs proof. The science bridge matters because you deserve to know why this gentleness works. When you create predictable start rituals like Sanctuary Minute and Warm Start, you train your basal ganglia's loops for initiation. You reduce the metabolic cost of starting. When you reduce visual noise and clicks, you lighten the load on your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part juggling rules and goals. When you end with a touch cue and begin with a breath, you exploit Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together wire together. Breath plus first keystroke become a pair. Later, one evokes the other. This is neuroplasticity, not mythology. You are not motivating yourself with slogans. You are rewiring access routes. Let's close with a small scene where all of this converges. It's late afternoon, the hard time. Your stomach is a little empty. Your brain is a little loud. The light coming in is thinner now, cool against the back of your hands. You stand and roll your shoulders. You rinse your face. Feel the water bead and run along your jaw. You sit and run a sanctuary minute. Nostrils cool, thighs heavy, lower back warm. You look at your focus rail and choose the sustain tile. Inbox 0 to 10. Friction. Sculpting means only the inbox and one reference doc are open. The boundary bell will chime in 25 minutes. You begin with a warm start, sorting by sender. One breath back. You end each micro batch with end, intend, tapping the next subject line before sipping water. A surprise message flares your amygdala. You run the 90-second weather rule and distraction dissection under your breath. Urgency 8, then an exhale, then a single sentence reply to buy clarity. We paused at scope. I'll propose options by 10. The number drops to 4. Your energy map says, no deep build now, so you don't pretend. You keep it sustain. When the bell rings, you stand. Restore begins, a 5-minute balcony walk, no phone, just the cool bite of air at your cheeks and the sound of a city you're not responsible for controlling. You return a little more yourself. As night leans in, you set your night before nudge. The document you'll open in the morning sits waiting. The mouse card reads tile. The rail card has tomorrow's 3 boxes blank and hungry. You draw a line under today's rails and say what you've become. I return. I build in tiny, honest moves. You are not a discipline machine. You are a person whose nervous system is learning to trust you, and trust is what unleashes focus without the whip. One last breath. Inhale to 4, hold to 4, exhale to 6. Feel your ribcage soften at the very bottom of the breath. Let the quiet be proof. You are the awareness that chooses. You are the one who lays the rail and rides it. And tomorrow you will not hope for focus. You will meet it at the same doorway where your hands and breath already know the way. You've learned to return, to lay tiles, to ride your energy map. Today we're going to remove a deeper hidden drain, the meanings you attach to signals before you even know you've attached them. A ping is a sound. You call it danger. A yawn is a stretch. You call it failure. You don't notice the translation layer because it happens fast. This chapter teaches you the signal to meaning split, a way to decouple raw sensations from the stories that sabotage your focus. You'll also build the focus contract, a 2-minute pact that keeps you from over-promising to yourself and under-delivering to your day. Woven through both is a reframe you can run in your head in 12 seconds when emotion surges. The 3-angle reframe. These aren't slogans, they're handles. You'll feel them in your breath and your hands. Start with the split. Signals are neutral, heart rate up, palms warm, inbox full. Meaning is your layered inference. I'm behind, I'm bad, I can't. When your amygdala is jumpy, it welds signal to meaning with panic glue. The split teaches you to pause and name the signal in sensory language, then separately choose a meaning that serves your next tile. It sounds like this. Signal, pressure behind eyes, 20 new emails, meaning a cue I will move to at a time. The body relaxes because it hears clarity. Your prefrontal cortex gets the mic back because you stopped catastrophizing. This is not positive thinking. It's accurate labeling plus a chosen frame. Try it now. Scan your body. Notice one signal. Temperature at your cheeks, weight at your thighs, the faint grain of the desk under your palm. Say it quietly. Then choose a meaning that aims the next 2 minutes. If your brain argues, fine. Let the protest be another signal. You are the awareness, not the protest. You set the meaning because you set the mission. A story to ground this. Tessa manages a small team and an inbox that reproduces while she sleeps. Monday she wakes to 83 unread messages and a pulse in her temples. Her old meaning is doom. She spirals into speed without strategy. Today, she runs the split. Signal, 83 emails, pulse in temples, meaning triage in twos, protect one decision per 10 minutes. She breathes 446 and runs her focus contract. She writes, "For the next 10 minutes, I do 2 messages at a time. Each gets 1 decision." She signs it with initials on a sticky. Then she begins. When urgency flares, she points to the contract with 1 finger, a physical anchor. 10 minutes later, she has decisions, not just replies, and her skull feels less tight. The mail count is still high. The meaning changed the physics. Feel your jaw now. Is it clenched? Let it soften until your molars almost kiss without touching. Notice the coolness of the air at the rim of your nostrils as the inhale lands, the warmth riding out on the exhale. Feel the chair push back against your hamstrings. This is you stepping onto the lab floor of your body, where experiments are run and panic is not consulted. The focus contract is simple and strict. You write a tiny promise to yourself in present tense with a hard edge and a soft heart. For the next 6 minutes, I will draft 1 ugly paragraph. For the next 4 minutes, I will clean the dataset's missing values list. For the next 2 minutes, I will choose a verb for the slide title. You include a why in 1 breath, so future me has an easier entry. Then you sign. Signing may feel childish. The basal ganglia loves ritual. Ritual says, we've done this before, we can do it again. The signature converts intention into a motor plan. The contract frees you from the tyranny of grandiosity and the shame of vagueness. You keep it, and identity shifts 1 notch toward trustworthy. To protect this contract, you'll add tripwire pairing, a tiny implementation intention. If X impulse appears, then Y contract Q fires. If the urge to check messages surfaces while drafting, you whisper, tripwire, reach for the contract, and physically touch the paper. That touch is your anti-spiral. 2 seconds to recall, 10 to re-enter. The tripwire is an if-then clause written into your nervous system, not into a notebook you never open again. A living room scene at dusk, the light turns soft and orange against the spines of books. Eli, a junior copywriter, feels his phone tug after every sentence. He writes a focus contract, 5 minutes, 1 messy tagline, and pairs a tripwire. If the phone urge spikes above 6, he touches the contract and breathes once before moving. 10 seconds later, the urge blooms. He labels signal, itch in fingers, phantom buzz, meaning return to the contract. He touches paper, inhales for 4, holds, exhales for 6, and types 3 bad lines that lead to 1 decent one. The phone still sits there. It has no jurisdiction for 5 minutes because he assigned it none. A quick sensory bow. Rub your thumb across your index fingertip until you feel the fingerprint ridge by ridge. Listen for the faintest hum in your space. Let your eyes widen 1 degree to include the periphery. Wide eyes whisper safety. Safety returns bandwidth to thinking. Now, the 3-angle reframe. Your brain defaults to 1 angle under stress, the catastrophic. We'll add 2 more, the neutral and the constructive. The sequence is short. Angle 1. Say the worst plausible story you're telling yourself. Angle 2. Say the dull, technically accurate version. Angle 3. Say the helpful, still true version that points your hands. You do this in under 12 seconds. No theater. Catastrophic. I'm blowing this deadline and I'll look incompetent. Neutral. The draft is late and needs 2 focused passes. Constructive. The draft is late. 1 2-minute pass on headings. Now we'll cut the final time in half. Reframing doesn't erase stakes. It returns you to agency. Agency quiets adrenaline. The prefrontal cortex likes to act, not to drown. Use it in a hallway. Amara, an auditor, is told a senior partner wants a quick chat. Her stomach cools, her hands go cold. She runs the angles under her breath as she walks. Catastrophic. I'm in trouble. Neutral. He has a question. Constructive. He has a question. If I prepare the 3 key numbers now, the chat will be specific. She opens the doc on her phone, reads 3 figures, breathes. The partner asks precisely about those numbers. The talk lasts 5 minutes, not 50. She doesn't become fearless. She becomes resourced. Check your rib cage. Inhale to 4, hold to 4, exhale to 6. Let the exhale lengthen a hair more than feels necessary. The drop at the bottom of the breath is a tiny elevator. You can ride it down out of panic into presence. There's a saboteur worth naming, meaning fusion in relationships. A sigh from your partner becomes, they're disappointed in me. A delayed reply from a client becomes, the work is bad. Fusion makes you spend an hour fixing problems that only exist in your chest. We'll use the 2-beat check. Ask and anchor. If the relationship matters, ask a clean question for the missing data. Quick check. Are you pressed for time or upset with me? Then anchor back into your next tile with a breath and a line in the ledger. This turns rumination into communication and returns you to the one place your life actually moves, the 2-minute action in front of you. A dinner table anecdote. Nita and her brother have a rhythm of jabs that sometimes land as cuts. He sighs while she explains her new project. Her chest tightens, meaning fusion leaps to, he thinks I'm naive. She breathes, asks, are you tired or skeptical? He laughs and apologizes. Long day, not her. She anchors by rinsing plates for 2 minutes and writing, asked cleanly, felt dignity in her ledger. The project hasn't changed. The story has, and stories are the air attention breathes. Let's add a body-based micro drill that locks the split into muscle memory. The 90-second scan line. Imagine a thin line of light moving down your body from crown to toes over 1.5 minutes. As the line passes each region, name one signal there and assign a simple meaning. Forehead tight, meaning reminder to soften gaze. Jaw clenched, meaning choose a softer verb. Chest warm, meaning energy available. Belly flutter, meaning excitement labeled as threat. The scan line turns vague stress into discrete, actionable notes. When you finish, you pick one focus contract that fits the dominant signal. If the body says fatigue, your contract is a warm start, not heroics. Accuracy protects trust. Feel your skin at your wrists. Is the air cooler there? Note it. Nod to the fact that you are a mammal in a room, not a brain in a jar. The nervous system calms when you treat it as a creature, not a machine. A frequent stumble is stealth self-betrayal. You promise yourself a block and then let other people's urgency leak into it. To counter, run the clean no protocol. It has 3 elements: a short reason, a redirect, a respect line. I'm in a build block until 11. I can review at 11:15. That's the reason and redirect. Respect, thanks for understanding. The line is clear, kind, and timed. Pair it with a boundary bell if needed. Your focus is a commons. Protect it like a park, not like a fortress. Open with hours, closed with signs. Seen at a co-working space. The air smells like espresso and a hint of toner. Ravi is asked, "Can you just peek at this?" His old script says yes before he hears the request. Today, he runs the clean no. "I'm in a build block until 10. I can peek at 10:10. He adds a tripwire. If guilt rises, he touches the focus contract. Guilt rises, he breathes, touches paper, types 2 more sentences. The world doesn't fall. The other person adapts. Ravi's spine feels longer by half an inch. Science check, brief and practical. The split engages the brain salience network and prefrontal control by forcing categorization before reaction. The focus contract reduces choice overload. Externalizing the intention pulls working memory outside the skull so you can use it. The 3-angle reframe toggles networks, default mode, story, task positive, action, on purpose. Implementation intentions, tripwire pairing, are robust in research because they automate decisions at the cue. You no longer negotiate with every urge. Negotiations burn glucose. Automation saves it for the tile that builds your life. Now integrate. You're at your desk or at a cafe or on a bus with the warm press of a backpack strap across your shoulder. You choose a tile. Before you begin, you run the 90-second scan line and pick the dominant signal. You split it. You write a focus contract that matches. You whisper your 3-angle reframe if dread is near. You set a tripwire for the most likely sabotage. Then you begin on the exhale. When the minute mark hits and the first micro-urge to wander appears, you touch the contract. When someone pings, you run clean no with a time and a thanks. When you finish, you end intend with a fingertip to the next object. The choreography is not heavy. It is soft and precise. Precision makes the nervous system purr. Feel the lower back, the warmth at the lumbar curve where your spine meets the chair. Let the muscles there slack a notch. Hear the faintest buzz of electricity in the room. If you can't hear anything, let silence be your sound. The practice happens here, not on some perfect morning where the world files its edges. An evening vignette to close. Storm clouds hover, but don't commit. The window glass is cool under your fingertips. You have 30 minutes before you need to leave. Your brain presents a carousel of maybe tiles. You split. Signal, restless legs, scattered thoughts, meaning pick one tile that reduces tomorrow's friction. You write a focus contract. For 8 minutes, prepare the 3 supporting docs. Tripwire. If you reach for your phone, you touch the contract and breathe once. Halfway through, anxiety arrives. Dressed as urgency about something else, you run the 3-angle reframe in your head and return. When the timer ends, you end intend, touching tomorrow's first doc label. You stand. You rinse your hands and feel water map your knuckles. You put on your shoes and notice the cool leather meeting warm socks. The world is the same. You are steadier in it because you didn't ask yourself for miracles. You asked for a kept promise, and you kept it. Before you sleep, do a 2-minute ledger harvest with meaning included, not just tiles laid, but meanings chosen. Signal, dread, meaning a plan for 2. Tile, outline first paragraph. Effect, breath lower, shoulders down. You are teaching your identity to trust that you won't follow every scary interpretation. The brain loves patterns. It will start to predict that you will split and contract and reframe. Prediction is comfort. Comfort reduces alarms. Reduced alarms release attention. Released attention builds the thing you came here to build. One more breath. Inhale to 4, hold to 4, exhale to 6, and feel the tiny drop at the end. Whisper this because it's true whether or not you feel it. I am the awareness choosing meanings that serve my next honest step. Write tomorrow's first focus contract now if you can. If not, leave a pen where your hand will land. You don't need to be a hero. You need to be a keeper of small contracts. That is how unstoppable focus grows, not by force, but by fidelity. You've been building focus inside your own skin, breath, tiles, returns. Now we bring that steadiness into the storm of other people. Meetings that stretch like taffy, messages that multiply when you sleep, expectations that arrive without timestamps. You can't make the world quiet. You can make agreements with it that keep your nervous system solvent. Today, you'll learn the attention budget and the context capsule, two frameworks that let you spend attention like a scarce currency and switch contexts without bleeding out. You'll pair them with a simple social skill that saves hours of rubble, the expectation echo. We'll keep everything small, runnable, and merciful to a human brain. Begin with the attention budget. Every day, you wake up with a limited grant of deep focus minutes, a larger pile of light lift minutes, and a thin ribbon of willpower you keep trying to stretch into rope. Most people treat attention like an overdraft account. They swipe and pray. Budgets are not shackles. They are freedom from guessing. The method is 3 short sentences written each morning. Deep build, 90 minutes, 2 tiles. Sustain, 2 hours, 4 batches. Social, 3 touch points, 10 minutes each. You are not predicting the universe. You're deciding how many coins you will drop into which buckets before the noise arrives. When the day challenges you, you don't panic, you rebalance. The key is to count tiles, not hours. Your ledger becomes a spending record. Your identity becomes the accountant who knows where the day went. Feel your breath settle. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Notice the cool at your nostrils and the soft warmth that follows your exhale across your upper lip. Let your shoulders drop an invisible centimeter. This small noticing widens time. Inside that widened space, write your budget for the next block. If your mind protests, that's weather. You do not argue with weather, you choose your jacket. A story to anchor the budget. Mina leads customer success for a scrappy app. Her calendar looks generous until it's not. She started each morning scribbling 3 lines on a card and tucking it under her keyboard. The first week felt silly. On day 5, a quick sync threatened to swallow a build block. Instead of flinching, she rebalanced phrased, I can trade 20 minutes from sustain if we shorten the sync to 10 with a decision at the end. She emailed the agenda with 1 sentence. We end with 1 clear next step. The meeting shrank to fit the container. Her day didn't balloon, her breath did. Now the context capsule. Switching tasks isn't sinful, switching mindlessly is. Each context holds state, mental tabs, decisions waiting, half-seen patterns. When you switch without packing, you leak. A capsule is a 90-second package you make whenever you leave a task that will matter later. It has 3 parts: state, pointer, door. State is 2 sentences you write that capture where your mind is. Explored 3 options. Option B feels promising, but needs data. Pointer is the single next tile. Pull last month's numbers for B. Door is the re-entry ritual you'll use. When I return, 1 breath back, plus open sheet X. You put the capsule where your eyes will land. When you come back, You're not a stranger in your own house. Try it. Look at your current work. Write 2 sentences of state, 1 pointer, 1 door. Place it at the top of the dock or on a sticky at eye level. Close the file deliberately, not like an apology, like a save point in a game. Your nervous system registers safety. There's a rope tied to this ledge. You can climb back. Sensory bow. Rub your palms together until warmth blooms. Listen for the faintest hum. A fan, a vent, a street whisper. Let the back of your neck soften as if your collar were loosened. The more you include the body when you package state, the less your mind scrambles when you re-enter. You are training re-entry like a pilot, not relying on mood. You'll use the context capsule most during meetings. Meetings steal focus, not just while they run, but by leaving loose threads. Enter the meeting bookend, 2 micro moves that take 60 seconds each and steal back half your day. Before the meeting, set a focus contract. I will ask 1 clarifying question and propose 1 next action. After the meeting, write a capsule. State what changed, point to the smallest artifact, door the return. This seals cognitive leaks. It also turns you from attendee to mover, which changes how people route messes to you. Let me put you in a glass conference room that smells faintly like dry erase ink. Jonah is an engineer who dreads sprint planning because it blooms into philosophy. He sets a pre-contract and keeps a 1-line budget. Social, 10 minutes. Ask 1. Propose. 1. When the room drifts, he asks, "What's the smallest test that kills the bad path?" The team lands on a 2-hour spike. After, Jonah writes a capsule. State, chose spike to test caching. Pointer, draft test outline. Door, when I sit, open the outline and write 3 bullets. He leaves without the gut suck of meetings past. His shoulders are not armor, they're shoulders. Check your feet. Feel the ground push back. Spread your toes inside your shoes, then let them rest. If your jaw is hard, unlock it. You're composing a posture your brain trusts. External asks generate the worst leaks. Someone pings, "Got a sec?" And your amygdala hears, "Drop everything or you'll lose belonging." Here's where you install the expectation echo. It's a 2-sentence mirror that turns vague asks into crisp agreements. You reply with the request as you understand it, plus a timestamp and a smallest deliverable. To confirm, you need a quick pass on the brief for tone. I can send a 3-line tone check by 2:30. Echoing does 2 things. It corrects mismatches before they cost you, and it teaches people that your attention is traded, not seized. You are not cold. You're clear, seen in a Slack channel. The founder types, "Can you look at this now?" Riley's fingers twitch. Instead of, "Sure," Riley echoes, confirming, "Look for red flags only. 3 bullets by 10:45. The founder replies, "Yes, just flags." Riley's nervous system exhales. The task shrinks. The budget survives. Echoing is not arrogance. It's an oxygen mask. You help others breathe when you can breathe. Breathe with me. 4 in, hold, 6 out. Feel your rib cage widen like sliding doors, then close gently. Let your eyes soften so you can see the edges of the room. Peripheral vision tells your midbrain, "No predator right now." Your prefrontal cortex thanks you by returning to work. A missing piece is response latency. If you always reply at once, you train the world to tug your sleeve. If you never reply, you drop threads that matter. Enter the latency ladder, a simple standard you set and share. Quick replies within 10 minutes for true blockers in your lane, within 2 hours for normal requests. End of day for FYIs. You codify it in your status or email footer in human words. Pair it with the boundary bell. When the bell rings for your build block, your ladder holds you. People adapt to the rhythm you model faster than you expect because rhythm reduces their anxiety too. There's an afternoon office story where this changed a team. Zara managed design requests that arrived with panicked timestamps. She published her ladder. Blockers, ping and tag, 10 minutes. Reviews, before 2 p.m. FYIs, EOD. The first week, she felt exposed. By week 2, the pings shifted to tags. Blockers became rarer because people prepped better. Zara's hands started to feel like tools again, not alarm bells. She spent her deep build budget on actual design. Her evenings tasted like food, not fuel. Sensory check. Notice the temperature difference between the backs of your hands and your palms. Trace a fingertip along the edge of your desk and feel the grain or the smoothness. The detail pulls you into now, where budgets are decided and capsules get packed. Now for the messy human part, saying no without setting your nervous system on fire. You learned the clean numberer. Add a softer cousin, the not now pivot. It's one sentence that respects the request, names your current track, and offers a clear door. I'm in build until 11. If you share the doc, I'll leave tone notes by noon. Pivots preserve connection while protecting budgets. They also stop you from weaponizing silence, which breeds more anxiety than any honest boundary. Domestic scene to show the transfer. It's Saturday. The living room smells like coffee and the faint lemon of floor cleaner. Your partner asks, "Can you fix the closet door?" You feel the tug. You also promised yourself a build hour on your project. Not now. Pivot. I'm in my hour until 10. If you want to pull the tools out, I'll tighten the hinge at 10. You breathe 4-4-6 as you say it. Their face eases because there's a plan. Your chest eases because you kept a promise to both of you. Focus is not selfish. It is a form of honesty. The context capsule needs a twin for inboxes, which are graveyards of context. Use the thread capsule. When an email thread matters, write your state and pointer at the top as if you're your own assistant. We're waiting on legal's paragraph. Next tile, draft alt language either way. Paste it above the fold in your draft. When the reply arrives, you don't reread the whole thread to remember who you were. You re-enter from the door you left yourself. The minutes spared become tiles laid. A hospital corridor story to test this under pressure. Luis, a resident, juggles charts and pages, each with stakes. He started leaving thread capsules in patient notes. State, ruled out X, watching vitals trend. Pointer, check labs at 14. When the pager pulled him away, he returned to the line he wrote. His heart rate still spiked during codes. He's not a robot. But the average day stopped feeling like drowning. He trusted his own breadcrumb trail. Trust, not toughness, is what makes stamina sustainable. Breathe. Inhale to 4. Hold. Exhale to 6. Notice the skin at your temples. Let it soften. If your shoulders climbed while reading about hospitals, drop them. You're not there. You're here. Your system learns safety by practicing it in small, real moments. Sometimes the world will ignore your boundaries. A manager will schedule over your build. A client will just need 5 minutes, which is code for 40. You cannot control them. You can control your re-entry speed. That's the job of doorway downshift. At every threshold, into your office, into your chair, into a meeting, you take one heavy exhale, shake your hands once, as if shedding water, and name the room you're entering. Build. Sustain. Social. The naming engages attention networks and sets the filter. If someone invades your block, downshift when they leave and pick up the last tile in your capsule before your mind wanders. Doorways become anchors. Anchors become saved hours. An open plan example. Paula works at a table without walls. Colleagues drift over like weather. She can't build an office. She can build thresholds. Each time a drop-by ends, she turns her chair 10 degrees, shakes her hands, breathes, says, "Return," and touches the first object of her tile. The ritual takes 6 seconds. She stops resenting people because she trusts her re-entry. Resentment is a tax you can't afford. Take a small sensory inventory. Is there a faint scent in the room? Paper, soap, dust, rain? Name it. Feel your lower back meet the chair. Imagine warmth spreading there like a small sun. Your brain is listening for cues that now is workable. Give it cues. Let's integrate with the reset stack, a tiny ladder you climb when chaos spikes. Stack 1. 1 breath back. Stack 2. Expectation echo, or not now pivot. Stack 3. Context. Capsule, if you must switch. Stack 4. Doorway, downshift, on return. 4 rungs, 90 seconds total when practiced. You'll reach for it when Slack explodes or a family crisis interrupts. The stack prevents learned helplessness. You always have the next rung. An evening vignette at home. The dishwasher hums. A child's homework sprawls like confetti. A text arrives. A friend needs a quick read of a pitch deck, tonight if possible. Your chest tightens. Your mind writes a catastrophic angle about being a bad friend. Reset stack. Breathe. Echo. Happy to skim for headlines and 1 risk. I can send 3 bullets by 9. Capsule. The current context. State. Mid-dishes with homework assist. Pointer. Return to budget spreadsheet. Door. Open sheet. Line 18. You finish the dishes. Send 3 bullets. Downshift back to the sheet with a single exhale. Friendship intact. Budget intact. Nervous system intact. You did not choose between care and focus. You chose clarity. Science, bridge, short and usable. Budgets and capsules calm the salience network by reducing uncertainty. Expectation. Echo recruits language circuits to shape social prediction, which down-regulates limbic noise. Doorway rituals create state-dependent memory. The brain stores and retrieves context better when paired with consistent cues. Latency standards build trust because predictability is a social sedative. None of this requires perfection. It requires repetition under mild stress, so the pathways thicken and the body stops bracing for impact every time a ping arrives. Let's close with a on-the-hour drill you can adopt today. It's called the quarter turn. At the top of any hour you pick, you do 4 tiny moves in 45 seconds. Glance at the budget card and pick 1 coin to spend. Touch your current capsule and read State Pointer Door. Send 1 expectation echo or not now pivot you've been avoiding. Perform a doorway downshift even if you never left. Then you lay a 2-minute tile. The quarter turn is not a productivity sprint. It's a nervous system alignment. You stop running crooked. You go straighter with less effort. Feel your body one more time. The air on your forearms. The weight at the base of your skull loosening as your tongue rests. The chair answering the weight you give it. Whisper the identity line you're earning. I am the awareness that spends attention on purpose. You don't need to conquer the world's noise. You need to keep 1 small promise in the storm, again and again, until your brain expects you to. That expectation becomes ease. Ease makes you unstoppable the human way, gentle, accurate, repeatable. Write today's budget in 3 lines. Pack 1 capsule before you switch. Echo 1 expectation before you accept it. Downshift through one doorway on purpose. Count the tiles in your ledger. Feel the warm, steady click of a life that fits in your hands. Focus is not a fortress. It's a set of doors you decide to open and close. You are the one with the keys. There's a moment you don't post about. The instant the plan slips, the tile shatters, and the old story tries to climb back onto the throne. You misread an email and ship the wrong file. You open the doc and can't hear your own sentences. You promise a friend a call and blow past the hour. Shame arrives like hot metal at the back of your neck. The critic sharpens its knives and calls it accountability. This chapter is about what you do right there, how you turn a falter into fuel without theatrics. You will learn the emotional alchemy ladder and the one clean rep method. Together, they convert messy moments into momentum in under 3 minutes. You'll stop trying to be unbreakable and become bendable in the right direction. Start by feeling how a stumble lands in the body. The breath shrinks to the top of your chest. Your vision narrows until the world tunnels to the mistake. Your tongue presses hard against your molars. Heat gathers at your cheeks. Your shoulders hitch upward a finger's width. That is your amygdala ringing a bell it learned early in life. Threat to belonging. Your prefrontal cortex dimly hears the bell and surrenders the mic. You don't need a lecture on brain regions. You need a move that returns blood to thinking. The emotional alchemy ladder is that move, 5 rungs you can climb with breath and language. The rungs are simple. Notice, name, normalize, narrow, nudge. You notice the raw signal, not the story. You name the emotion precisely. You normalize the reaction as mammal logic. You narrow the horizon to the next wise inch. You nudge your hands. By the time your fingers move, the spell is broken. Let's climb it in a real room. It's Wednesday. You're on a video call. The client asks for the final, and you share the wrong version. 2 people frown. Your stomach drops. Your scalp prickles. Notice heat in cheeks, drop in belly, scalp tingling. Name, shame, not just stress. Normalize. Of course, shame shows up when eyes are on me. Narrow. The next wise inch is to state the correction and send the right file in 2 minutes. Nudge. 1 breath back, then, I shared the draft. Final's uploading now. 2 minutes. Your hands move to the file with the exhale still leaving your lips. The frowns soften. The world widens by 2 inches, and your identity collects a different kind of evidence. You are the person who returns mid-flinch. Pause and meet your body. Relax your jaw so your teeth hover without touching. Inhale for 4. Feel cool air trace the inside edge of your nostrils. Hold for 4. Sense the weight of your thighs where the chair pushes back. Exhale for 6. Feel warmth on your upper lip and the softening at the base of your skull. The room doesn't change color, but it becomes more dimensional. This is the floor your ladder stands on. You'll wonder whether naming shame or fear simply indulges it. The opposite is true. Emotions lose voltage when coded in language. When you say shame, you recruit circuits that reroute limbic fire into meaning. Normalize is not excuse, it is context. Your nervous system calms when experience makes sense, and calm is the only bridge back to skill. Narrow keeps you from trying to repair your self-concept in one swing. Nudge is the pivot from story to hands. Each rung is tiny on purpose, because tiny is what your system can reach when it's irritated. Anecdote from a bright kitchen where the afternoon light turns everything honey-colored. Santi is a new team lead. He promised his team a roadmap by Friday and woke up Friday with a half-road and a full dread. He felt the familiar heat crawl up his neck and the old voice. You've been promoted into exposure. He climbed the ladder out loud while making coffee. Notice, clenched jaw, shallow chest, buzzing forearms. Name, fear and embarrassment. Normalize. First roadmaps are awkward for everyone. Narrow. Share the draft with 3 questions. Nudge. He typed in the group chat. Sharing the draft. Mark the top 3 unclear edges by noon, and I'll tighten before EOD. He pressed send with a breath he thought would fail him, and it didn't. The team responded with precision. The roadmap solidified because he used the stumble as a collaboration door instead of a hiding place. Feel your feet. Spread your toes inside your shoes. Let the soles meet the floor and notice the pressure points. Heel, ball, outer edge. The ground is lending you a structure. Use it. Your body will keep giving you anchors if you ask with attention rather than verdicts. Now the second framework, the one clean rep method. After a mistake, you want to fix everything. That's panic trying to buy back dignity. One clean rep says your first move after a falter is a single, immaculate micro-action that belongs to the same domain as the stumble. If you miss a meeting, your clean rep is a crisp 3-line follow-up with one proposed next step, not a novella apology. If you blow a writing block, your clean rep is 20 present tense words typed with deliberate breath, not a vow to pull an all-nighter. The point is not the rep itself, it's what the rep tells your basal ganglia. This loop ends with action, not rumination. The habit brain stores endings. Give it a clean one. Let me show you in a lab of a different kind. A living room at night, couch indented, faint soundtrack of a neighbor's television through the wall. Kayla promised herself 40 minutes on a certification course and instead drifted through reels. The critic arrived with claws. She felt the heat and the heavy stomach. Without the latter, she would have scrolled until numb. With it, she noticed, named, normalized, narrowed, then nudged into a clean rep. She opened the course and answered the first multiple-choice question while breathing out. It took 40 seconds. Her next move wasn't to promise redemption. It was to mark a ledger line. Clean rep, 1 cue, and stand to rinse her face with cool water. The coolness on her cheeks and the sound of the water against porcelain reset her state. The next night, her body remembered that faltering no longer equals flaying. It equals one clean act and a return. Check the small muscles around your eyes. Soften them. Widen your gaze by 1 degree to include the edges of the screen, the shadow near the wall, the shimmer on a glass. Wide gaze signals safety. Safety returns curiosity. Curiosity is the opposite of shame's tunnel. You'll add a practice that strengthens both frameworks. Gratitude in shadow. It is gratitude for the part of discomfort that points you to your values, not for injustice or pain. After a stumble, ask, what is the useful signal inside this sting? If you cringe at a clumsy slide, the signal is that clarity matters to you. Your next tile is to sharpen the verb in the title. If you wince at a curt reply you sent, the signal is that your relational care is awake. Your next tile is a clean repair. Gratitude in shadow turns the critic into a scout. Scouts bring information. They don't command troops. A hallway story to test this under fluorescent light. Dev sent a reply he immediately regretted. Facts correct, tone sharp. He felt the hot-cold flush of, I'm a jerk. Ladder, notice. Name, regret, normalize. People who care misfire when tired. Narrow, 70-word repair. Nudge. 1 clean rep, typed slowly, no groveling. Yesterday's reply was accurate and unhelpful in tone. Here's the same content stated more cleanly. Thanks for the push. He hit send and stood up to feel the carpet under his feet through thin socks, a ridiculous but real sensory reset. Gratitude in shadow, the sting, proved that respect matters to him. Identity grows where you let stings teach instead of bruise. Breathe again. Inhale for 4, hold, exhale for 6. Sense the ridge of your fingerprint as your thumb slides across your index finger. Sensation is a bridge. Cross it often. There is a cousin to shame that ruins focus, perfection, grief, the soft sadness that you weren't your imagined best. Perfection, grief, makes you redo tiles that were already sufficient. It makes you reopen finished work just to tweak, a doorway to the spiral. For this, you'll use the 5% edge. The rule is simple. After a tile is good enough, ask whether a 5% improvement would change outcomes. If yes, take one micro swipe. If no, declare it done and end intend. The 5% edge protects momentum without celebrating mediocrity. It gives your RAS a boundary. Stop searching for imaginary perfection and search for actual leverage. A studio story, Aria, a designer, kept losing afternoons to color adjusting. She applied the 5% edge to an icon set. Would 5% more polish change the client's adoption? No. Would a 5% edit to the onboarding tooltip reduce user confusion? Yes. She took one pass on the tooltip and shipped the icons. She walked to the window, put her palm on the cool glass, and let the cool travel from skin to forearm to breath. The critic quieted because a smarter standard replaced its favorite weapon. Science bridge, short and friendly. Shame is a social alarm. It's trying to keep you in the tribe by making you small. Naming it recruits language. Normalizing reduces perceived threat. Narrowing and nudging restore goal-directed behavior. One clean rep uses your habit circuitry's need for closure to mark the loop as safe. The 5% edge reduces opportunity cost blindness by forcing a tangible check instead of a vibe. This is not theory for whiteboards. It is leverage for days that wobble. Feel the skin at your wrists where air can reach. If there's a breeze, name it. If there is stillness, name that. You're calibrating your system to truth, not drama. Truth is an unglamorous solvent. It cleans slowly and thoroughly. We'll add a small drill called the Failure Forward Minute. Set a 60-second timer after any falter and write 3 sentences, the raw signal, the clean rep you chose, and 1 sentence of learning stated as a rule you can use later. Signal, throat tight, inbox surge, clean rep, sent timeline question, rule. When numbers blur, ask for smallest, next concrete. The minute stamps your memory with a story that ends in agency. Later, when your RAS sees a similar pattern, it tags your rule instead of your fear. A crowded cafe scene, milk froth scent in the air, a low roar of talk. Kieran's laptop crashes mid-submission. He loses 2 paragraphs and a little dignity. The old spiral yawns open. Failure. Forward. Minute. He writes on a card. Signal. Stomach sink. Heat in ears. Rep. Retyped the lost lines while exhaling. Rule. When tech bites, rebuild 1 tiny section before fixing the system. He then saves, and only after the rep does he restart the app. The minute did not restore the lost paragraphs. It restored Kieran's capacity to make more. Check your breathing location. If it's high, lower it by placing 1 hand on your belly and letting that hand rise first. Feel the skin move under your palm. Let your exhale be a touch longer, like you're fogging a mirror gently. These small choices are votes. You're voting for return. Here's a harder scene. Loss that is not your fault. A project is cut because of budget. A team member leaves and your workload doubles. Your body still interprets this as, I failed to protect. You can't ladder your way out of grief, but you can keep grief from confiscating your hands. Use the ladder with more space between rungs. Notice, heaviness in chest. Name, grief, disappointment. Normalize, attachment is a sign I cared. Narrow, 15 minutes to map what remains mine. Nudge, one email to clarify scope, then add a restore tile later that is deliberately physical. Walk without audio, hot shower, feeling the water strike shoulder blades. The body needs a place to put the weight. Movement without fixing is medicine. A bench under a tree in late afternoon. Leaves flick, shadows move across your knees. You exhale and feel the breath leave like a tide. The nervous system can hold work and tenderness at once when you give it sequence. Feel, name, move, mend. You are not ignoring pain. You are deciding not to let pain drive the car. You'll notice that after you adopt these tools, your critic doesn't vanish. It changes jobs. It becomes a quality engineer who rings a bell when there's a crack. When it rings, you don't fire it. You also don't give it the steering wheel. You invite it to stand at the edge of your desk while you climb the ladder, take your clean rep, and apply the 5% edge where it earns its keep. Over time, the critic loses its costume and becomes a colleague with better manners. Before we close, a story where everything bends the right way. Avi is presenting a demo to leadership. 10 minutes in, the app freezes. The room gathers that quiet that cuts. Avi's throat dries. Her vision narrows to the cursor. Old Avi would have babbled apologies until the room bled empathy. New Avi climbs. Notice, cold hands, hot face. Name, panic and embarrassment. Normalize. Demos freeze. Leaders have seen worse. Narrow. Name the freeze. Shift to prototype video. Nudge. Looks like a freeze. I'll show flow via the prototype while we relaunch. She breathes the 6 count while pressing play. The room relaxes. After, she does a 1 clean rep email. Thanks for the time. Here's the working link and the 2 metrics we'll watch this week. Failure Forward Minute gives her a rule she will use for years. When live fails, move to artifact fast. That 1 minute seeds a dozen calm futures. One last sensory bow. Place your palm flat on your sternum and feel the warmth there. Let your other hand rest on your lower belly and feel the breadth of the breath. Hear the faintest sound in your space. Let your eyes soften as if you're looking through a window, not at a wall. Whisper the identity line that these tools are earning. You are the awareness that can be startled and still choose. The person who turns small failures into clean returns. Before you sleep tonight, write 1 line in your ledger that includes a stumble and the ladder you climbed. Count the rep, not just the result. When you wake tomorrow to a world that still pings and pulls, you won't ask yourself to be flawless. You will ask yourself for a clean first rep and the courage to climb 1 rung. Courage measured this small is teachable. Teach it to your body until it becomes reflex. Reflex becomes character. Character becomes the quiet engine of unstoppable focus. Breathe once more. 4 in, hold, 6 out. Feel the drop at the bottom. Lift your gaze and choose the next wise inch. Begin on the exhale. You are not the mistake. You are the mover who returns. You are the awareness, not the emotion. And you are closer to steady than your old story will admit. You've tasted control at the scale that matters. Seconds. Now we'll make something bigger from those seconds without inviting the whip. You're going to build a creative engine that runs on gentle fuel. Not the mythic flow that appears when the moon is perfect and the house is silent, but the kind of flow that shows up because you called it with a small bell. This chapter gives you two frames that turn deliberate practice into steady output: the Keystone Hour and the Storyboard Switch. The Keystone Hour is not 60 minutes of intensity. It is a reliable cluster of tiny resets that, when strung together, quietly produce your most meaningful work. The Storyboard Switch is a way to turn foggy ideas into crisp tiles by thinking in scenes instead of perfection. You'll also learn the self-talk patch, a one-sentence repair for the voice that tries to fray the chord just as you begin. Begin with the Keystone Hour. It's less a block of time and more a ritualized path through 4 short states: warm, aim, build, seal. Warm is 5 minutes of gentle motion and a 4-4-6 breath to tell your body, we're safe enough to create. Aim is 2 minutes of choosing a focus tile that fits the hour's arc. Build is 3 short sprints, 8, 8, and 8 minutes, with 2-minute breath breaks between, tiny enough that your amygdala doesn't protest. Seal is 4 minutes of end-intend plus a ledger line and a 1-line summary of what you learned. So the hour grows a root system. The hour isn't a cage, it's a trellis. Vines need something to climb. Your attention does too. Picture a Thursday morning kitchen, light pale and steady on the counter, the air a little cool from a cracked window. Malik is a software founder who keeps promising himself a real chunk of building and ends the week with Slack trophies instead. He sets a Keystone Hour at 8:10, warm. He rolls his shoulders, feels a quiet pop between blades, breathes 4 to 4-6 while the kettle murmurs. Aim, he whispers, prototype the onboarding error state, and writes it on a card. Build, first 8 minutes, he roughs the copy. Breathe, second 8, he mocks the screen. Breathe, third 8, he tests the path. Seal, he types 2 sentences. Users fail at email validation. Error language softened bounce. Next, link to help. He stands, rinses a cup, watches beads of water track the porcelain. His shoulders drop by a finger's width. The hour doesn't feel heroic. It feels inevitable. That's the point. Predictability lowers alarm. Lower alarm frees skill. Check your body now. Sense the air against the backs of your hands, cooler than your palms. Let your jaw loosen until your molars hover without touching. Inhale for 4. Notice the line of cool traveling up the inside of your nostrils. Hold for 4. Feel the weight at your thighs where the chair quietly meets you. Exhale for 6. Let the warmth ride across your upper lip like a thin river. This is the door to warm. The door is ordinary on purpose so you can find it every day. The Keystone Hour lives and dies by aim. If you aim at make it perfect, you will miss. If you aim at a scene, you will hit. That's where the storyboard switch comes in. The brain loves narrative but hates fog. When you convert a project into 5 scenes, each scene becomes a focus tile cluster. A scene is concrete and observable. The email opens with one honest sentence. The deck's first slide says the verb. The code logs the user in with clear errors. The podcast intro paints one image. The essay's second paragraph confesses the real fear. You're not painting a masterpiece. You're drafting frames. The switch is simple. Each time you feel stuck, you ask, what's the next scene my future self needs to see? Then you lay one tile that makes that scene visible. Anecdote under fluorescent office lights and the faint scent of dry erase ink. Rhea is a product marketer, tasked with a positioning doc that felt like a cloud she had to bottle. She kept staring at blank sections and feeling the hot, cold wash of, "I'm faking it." She tried the Storyboard Switch. Scene 1, a customer quote that hurts. Scene 2, one paragraph about the costly mismatch. Scene 3, 3 sentences on the shift. Scene 4, one image that proves the shift. Scene 5, a call to a small action. Her Keystone Hour. Aim became draft scene 1 with a verifiable quote. The work changed from abstraction to an honest hunt. She found the quote in her notes, and when she pasted it at the top of the doc, her shoulders softened. The rest of the hour produced a rough outline that felt alive, not because she bullied herself, but because she gave the brain something it could hold. Pause. Feel the temperature at your temples. If there's a faint hum in the room, air vent, traffic, a neighbor's footfall, let it be part of the soundtrack. Widen your gaze until you can see the left and right edges of your screen at once. Wide eyes signals safety. Safety invites ideas out from under the table. Here's the self-talk patch. It's one sentence you install at the seam between hesitation and movement. When the old voice mutters, "You don't have it today," you respond with a patch line that starts with, "For now," or "Just until." For now, I'm someone who drafts an ugly first pass. Just until this breath ends, I am the kind of person who begins. The patch matters because identity is often where you lose hours. You keep trying to prove you're a capital C creative before you can write a lowercase sentence. The patch lets you borrow an identity for 60 seconds. Your nervous system doesn't fight a temporary costume. While it relaxes, your hands move. After a few patches, you don't need to borrow. You become. Try it in your mouth right now. Whisper, "For now, I make the first mark." Feel the shape of the words against your tongue and teeth. The body registers the promise. Pair it with a 4-4-6 and lay one first mark, a file name, a headline, a function stub. It's small and real. Real grows. You might worry that chopping the hour into pieces will cost you depth. In practice, depth arrives because you respected the staircase. Those breath breaks are not breaks from work. They are bridges between sprints. Your brain consolidates micro-learning in the gaps. The seal phase is what converts the hour from effort to asset. The one-line summary you write at the end becomes the breadcrumb your future RAS will follow next time. Summaries are not diary entries. They are cues for re-entry. What changed? What's next? What to open? Your nervous system wants to trust that you will guide it back. When you keep that promise, distraction loses a primary weapon, the fear of recreating context from scratch. A studio corner on a rainy afternoon. The window fogs lightly at the edges, soft white halo. Jun, a visual artist turned UI designer, keeps burning cycles on mood boards without moving into wireframes. Keystone Hour, Storyboard Switch, patch, warm. He stretches his neck, listens to the patter, and breathes. Aim. Scene 1, first-time user path sketch. Patch. Just until the next exhale, I am a person who puts a box on the page. Build 3/8. Seal. Boxes, path, next, copy labels. Open. Onboard photo sketch, artboard, Hero 2. He writes it, closes the file, and touches the trackpad with intention. A gesture as small as tapping a bell. The hour was a quiet corridor he walked down. Not a battle he survived. Take a sensate bow. Brush your fingertips lightly across your forearm and notice the tiny sound fabric makes. Feel where your lower back meets the chair. Imagine warmth spreading there like a coin heating in your palm. Name the sensation out loud. Language turns fog into texture. We need one more tool to keep the hour safe, the interference gate. Interference isn't everything outside. It's the one inner argument that gets you every time. What if this isn't good? Or what if this is the wrong direction? You don't need to win the argument to pass the gate. You give it a ticket. The ticket is a single post-hour question you promise to answer after seal. You write it at the top of your dock before you begin. After, ask whether direction A or B has more user value. The gate tells the anxious part it's not being ignored. It's being scheduled. Anxiety is a poor tyrant and a decent clerk. Assign it a task, and it calms. An office anecdote with stale donuts on a tray, and a whiteboard that still smells like last week's meeting. Ludo wants to write a technical blog post that explains a tricky caching decision. The interference and thought, experts will laugh. Interference, gate ticket. After, check with Mel if explanation is accurate. He starts the hour with the ticket in sight. The laugh fear loses its teeth because a specific person and action will handle it later. He writes. In seal, he slacks Mel with 3 lines and a link. The hour remains clean. The ticket gets stamped. The clerk goes back to the file room. Check your breath again. Inhale to 4. Imagine the air tracing the inside edges of your nostrils. Hold. Feel your tongue soften at the floor of your mouth. Exhale to 6. Notice the micro-release at the base of your skull. You are not performing calm. You are installing the conditions that let your brain return to steady. When the Keystone Hour becomes familiar, you'll be tempted to expand it until it breaks. Don't. Instead, stack it. A 2-keystone day is more powerful than a single heroic push because each hour ends clean and seeds the next. Morning build, afternoon build, different domains if possible so you don't grind one groove flat. Between them, you run sustain with 2-window discipline and a boundary bell. The alternation protects your prefrontal from fatigue. Fatigue makes alarms louder. Louder alarms make you chase novelty. Chase is expensive. Stacking is elegant. There's a domestic scene where this matters. A small apartment, a plant that leans toward the light like a curious child. Anna is studying for a cert at night while running a cafe by day. She stacks 2 keystone hours, one in the quiet before opening, one after dinner. In the morning, warm is a slow walk to the grinder. Aim is a single problem set. Build runs in 3 sprints. Seal is a sentence on what tripped her. At night, warm is a shower where she practices noticing temperature on shoulders. Aim is a scene for tomorrow's study outline. Build is a shorter set. Seal is an index card she leaves on her laptop that says, Open set 14. Fix step 2. The plant grows, so does she. Not because she muscled, but because she whispered the same small song twice a day until her nervous system sang along. You'll notice a new kind of resistance on day 8 or 12. It's not loud. It's a velvet disinterest that says, Let's skip today. We deserve it. You don't argue with velvet. You use the 90-second weather rule, and then you adjust the Keystone Hour with the warm start bias. Make the first sprint pure warm start. No new ground, just revisiting last scene and changing one verb, rerunning one test, redrawing one arrow. Once moving, you can slide into the second sprint with something real. The hour remains intact. Your trust remains intact. That trust is your most valuable creative asset. Treat it like a tendon. Load it gently and consistently. It will thicken. Feel your calves if you're seated, the faint hum in the muscles from holding you upright. If you're standing, feel the heel-to-toe map of pressure. Your body is a map. You get lost when you pretend it's just a vehicle. You return when you treat it like a guide. Sometimes a Keystone Hour is too long. That's fine. You can run a mini Keystone in 15 minutes. Warm for 30 seconds. Aim one sentence. Build a single 8-minute sprint. Seal one sentence. It fits between calls, on a train, in a parked car before you go in. People who build quietly know that miniatures are not lesser art, they're training for scale. Every mini is a vote for identity. Identity compounds. A library scene to show the smallest version. You're in a study carrel. The air smells like paper and dust, a sweet dry. You have 17 minutes before your ride. Warm, 1-4-4-6. Aim, Scene 3, one paragraph of the argument's turn. Build, 8 minutes. You write clumsy and honest. Seal, turn established. Next, example. Open, dock, turn para V1. You leave with a small lift in your chest, like the moment after a good stretch. The ride home is not a corridor of guilt, it's a soft victory lap. This is how lives are built while life happens. Science bridge, short and useful. Alternating short sprints with breath resets leverages your brain's ultradian preferences. The small oscillations preserve dopamine for the work rather than the chase. Scenes reduce cognitive load by chunking. Chunking is how your working memory survives complexity. The self-talk patch uses temporal construal. Commitments feel safer when bounded in time, which lowers threat and raises compliance. Tickets at the interference gate offload uncertainty to a plan, calming the salience network. The SEAL's one-line summary strengthens state-dependent recall. You encode what to reopen next time. None of this asks you to be special. It asks you to be rhythmic. Another anchor story before we close. Zahid writes grant proposals for a tiny lab that studies the tiniest of things. He loves the science and dreads the narrative, a paradox that drains him. He adopted the Keystone Hour Storyboard Switch patch. He warmed by wiping the bench and feeling the cool stainless steel under his palm. He aimed at Scene 1, why this matters to a grandmother in Jakarta, and wrote 2 sentences. He patched himself with, "For now, I write badly on purpose," and wrote 3 messy paragraphs. He sealed with, "Grandmother anchor landed. Next, cost reduction example. Open, impact sec." He did this every morning for 2 weeks. The proposals improved. More important, Zahid stopped hating himself for not being a words person. He became a person who returned to scenes. Identity follows evidence. Evidence is laid in tiny stones. One more sensory bow. Close your eyes for a breath and imagine the light in the room traveling across your skin like water. Open them and feel the weight of your forearms on the desk. Notice the small warmth where your wrists meet the surface. There's no performance here. There's a mammal calibrating itself to do a human thing. Take this into your next block. Write the 4 beats of a Keystone Hour on a card. Warm, aim, build, seal. Under aim, write your first scene in a sentence. Where the voice protests, apply a self-talk patch out loud, even if your whisper is the size of a thread. Start the first sprint while you are still exhaling. After 8 minutes, breathe and step your shoulders down, then do it again twice. Seal with a line that future you will love you for. What changed? What's next? What to open? If an interference thought chews at your sleeve, give it a ticket with a name and a time. When the hour ends, stand, touch water, feel temperature change your skin. Let that be the ritual that says, "We did enough for now." And if the day is fractured, pull a mini keystone out of your pocket. 1 breath, 1 sentence, aim, 1 sprint, 1 seal. counted in the ledger. You are not building a monument, you are training weather. Your mind's clouds are learning to move when you ring a small bell. Flow isn't a gift you wait for, it's a creature that comes when you make the room. You are the awareness that chooses the room. You are the one who lays scenes instead of fantasies. You are the keeper of the hour that turns into a chapter that turns into a life. When doubt knocks, hand it a ticket. When hesitation whispers, patch it gently. When the world pulls, return to warm and aim and build and seal. That's the whole spell. Ordinary, repeatable, kind. Breathe once more. Inhale to 4, hold to 4, exhale to 6. Feel your jaw soften, your eyes widen a degree, your shoulders unhook a notch. Write the first scene as a sentence. Begin while the breath leaves. The bell is small. The return is sure. The hour is yours. You've tuned your breath, your tiles, your hour. There's one more lever stealing more minutes than you see. What you let in. Inputs seed your attention. Too many. And your RAS floods your field with noise. Too few, and your mind starves and scavenges junk. This chapter teaches you to curate inputs like a craftsperson chooses wood. You'll learn the input fast fuel cycle and the boredom bridge. 2 practices that retrain your brain's appetite so focus stops competing with novelty. You'll also install a small narrative guard at the doorway to your mind. The 3-gate question. We will not become ascetics. We will become selective. Start with a felt truth. The urge to check isn't just habit. It's hunger, shaped by what you fed yesterday. Doom snacks breed doom hunger. That's not a moral failing. That's dopamine teaching your salience network what to look for. The input fast fuel cycle, or IFC, respects biology. You create short windows where you fast from new inputs, no headlines, no feeds, no chats, and feed only from your work and chosen references. Then, in a narrow fuel window, you deliberately consume high-quality input that relates to your current build. Fast sharpens, fuel enriches. The rhythm is what matters. Short, predictable, kind. Picture a Tuesday morning with cool light on your desk. The room smells faintly of paper and soap. You set your first IFC, fast, from 8:15 to 9:30, while you run a Keystone Hour on the onboarding flow. Fuel at 9:30 for 10 minutes, 3 articles on error language, 1 saved clip from a talk you trust. You write your fast on a sticky and put it at the top of your screen. No new, build only. Your body flinches when a phantom buzz arrives. You breathe 4-4-6 and touch the sticky. When 9:30 lands, you fuel on purpose, not in a frantic gulp but with a spoon. Your RAS learns novelty lives later and only inside the trail you chose. Hunger obeys the hours you set. Pause. Feel the temperature at your cheeks, the warmer skin where sunlight touches, and the cooler patch in the shade. Notice the weight of your forearms on the desk. Let your jaw unhook a millimeter. Inhale to 4, hold, exhale to 6. This is how you tell your system that you are not depriving it. You are redirecting it. IFC needs a doorway guard. That's the 3-gate question. Before you bring any input into your field, you ask, is it relevant to my current tile? Does it come from a relationship I trust? Will it regenerate me if it's neither of those? Relevant filters for fit. Relationship filters for source. Regenerate filters for nourishment. Nature images, a poem, a short laugh that loosens your ribs without a doom hangover. You don't interrogate every link like a customs agent. You simply let the 3 gates float in your mind like traffic lights. A green rarely lies. A red saves hours. Anecdote in a co-working space where espresso and printer toner perfume the air. Cam is a content strategist who keeps researching until research turns into avoidance. She adopts IFC with 3-gate. During fast, she sees a thread about a competitive brand's viral spot. Her stomach tightens. Novelty buzzes. She whispers, "Gate." Not relevant to her tile. Relationship is weak. The source is loud, not credible. Regeneration? No. She breathes, returns. At fuel time, she opens a bookmarked white paper and a case study from a strategist she respects. 10 minutes later, she's harvesting phrases that strengthen her argument. The craving eases because it was fed, not ignored, and fed with food that builds. Notice your hands. Are your palms a little damp or dry? Name it. Feel your tongue rest at the floor of your mouth. Widen your gaze to include the edges of the room. Wide gaze quiets the hunter circuits. Hunters chase everything. Builders choose one board and shape it. The boredom bridge is the hard part in a soft coat. Your attention muscle has been trained by fast-changing stimuli to sprint. Long work needs a different fiber. Boredom is not an enemy. It's a bridge your brain must learn to cross without bolting. The drill is simple and short. Once per day, pick one low-stakes, single-channel activity and do it for 5 minutes with no second screen and no soundtrack. Wash a mug feeling the temperature gradient from rim to base. Fold 5 shirts feeling the fabric drag. Stare out the window and track cloud edges. When the urge to distract rises, you name it and breathe 4 to 4, 6 once, then return to the sensation. You are teaching your midbrain that nothing dangerous happens when novelty pauses. The bridge gets sturdier with 3 walks across it, a kitchen scene to ground it. Sarah studies for nursing exams and lives in her phone. She sets a boredom bridge before her evening Keystone Hour. 5 minutes rinsing rice and watching water cloud, then clear. At minute 2, her brain screams for a podcast. She names Urge 8, breathes, returns to the feel of grains between fingers. At minute 5, her chest is lower, her jaw softer. She sits down and aims at scene 2. The study session is smoother, not because she proved virtue, but because she broadened her nervous system's window for nothing happening. Space is not empty, it's capacity. Check the back of your neck. Imagine warmth spreading there like sunlight through a curtain. Let your shoulders drop a notch. You are building a body that can bear quiet. Quiet is where your best work knocks, because it can finally be heard. Let's stitch IFC and the bridge into daily life. Mornings are for fast, because your prefrontal is freshest. You post a small office hours note by your messages that mirrors your latency ladder. You run a Keystone Hour inside the fast and tell your social brain it will see people at 9:30. Your fuel is narrow and tasty. One expert, one example, one opposing angle. Afternoons carry a second fast if you can afford it. If not, you run a mini Keystone wrapped by a boredom bridge. 2 minutes of stillness before, 2 minutes of slow motion after. Evenings are for regeneration, reading aloud to yourself, walking without audio, water on skin. The cadence is the point. The brain loves songs it recognizes. A commuter story. Nikhil rides the train home in a rush hour press. He used to scroll, arrive wired, and then fail his evening study block. He introduces a commute IFC, fast for 8 stops, eyes soft, breath slow, gaze on the micro-theater of the car, shoe rubber squeak, a coat zipper glint, a child solving a secret problem. Fuel for 2 stops with 1 saved article relevant to tomorrow's tile. Regenerate for the last stop with a poem he keeps in screenshots. He arrives with a different nervous system than the one that left the office. His study hour finally sticks because he didn't hit it from a sprint. Breathe. Inhale to 4, hold, exhale to 6, and listen to the whisper the air makes on the way out. Feel the chair push back against your hamstrings or the ground answer your feet. The exhale is the signal to your vagus that fast is safe. You'll encounter resistance disguised as sophistication. I need to be in the know to do my job. True, and that's what fuel is for. Fuel isn't generic. It's keyed to your scene. If your keystone aim is a customer story, your fuel might be 3 first-person accounts and 1 contradictory data point. If your aim is a technical explainer, your fuel might be 1 RFC paragraph and 1 trusted thread. The 3-gate guard ensures you don't mistake drama for data. Over time, your RAS learns to highlight inputs that look like your chosen future. That's not wishful thinking. That's an adaptive filter you program with repetition. An office anecdote with a shaky Wi-Fi and a looming deadline. Lena is a policy analyst who can drown in national news in 10 minutes. She sets a fast until 11. At Fuel, instead of opening a fire hose, she reads 1 court filing and 1 piece from a skeptical outlet she trusts. She annotates 1 paragraph and closes the tab. Her body registers the closure. That afternoon, when a colleague slacks a dramatic headline, she runs the 3 gates in a breath and replies, "Let's check the docket. We'll anchor there." She saved an hour of debate by choosing sources before emotions. Feel your fingertips on the keys or the page. Press and release. Notice the slight rebound. This mechanical feedback pairs with your breath to mark the rhythm. Fast build, fuel, regenerate. Rhythm is freedom. Without rhythm, you are an instrument that squeals at random. You'll add a tiny companion practice to the bridge, the single-channel minute. Once an hour during sustain, pick 1 task, read 1 email, wipe 1 counter, answer 1 DM, and do it with your eyes, breath, and hands on that channel only. When the urge to jump appears, you say the self-talk patch. For now, 1 channel. 1 minute is insultingly small and precisely what rewires overwhelmed circuits. After a week, the minute lengthens itself because your nervous system trusts that singularity doesn't equal boredom's trap. It equals relief. A living room scene lit by late sun, dust like confetti in the beam. Noor, who manages a household and a remote job, practices a single-channel minute by tying 1 shoe without glancing at her phone or planning dinner. Her brain laughs at the triviality. Then it quiets. Later, when she runs her mini Keystone, the first sprint doesn't fight as hard. Focus is cumulative, so is scatter. Science bridge, short and pragmatic. Fast periods lower the frequency of novelty-driven dopamine spikes, making your receptors less twitchy. Fuel periods pair dopamine with competence, strengthening learning loops. The boredom bridge lowers baseline arousal by teaching safety in stillness. You reduce the salience of random pings. Single-channel work increases coherence in networks that support sustained attention. None of this requires purity. It requires pattern. Check for a scent in your space, coffee ghost, printer heat, clean cotton, rain on concrete. Name it. The act of naming pulls energy from limbic to language. Then choose what to open next with the gate in mind. IFC touches sleep, and sleep touches everything. When you fuel badly at night, your dreams become reruns of anxiety with worse writers. You'll build an evening off-ramp, a 20-minute glide that ends in a short fast and 1 regeneration. Dim lights, put your phone out of arm's reach. Run the 90-second scan line and set one focus contract for morning. For 6 minutes, write the opening sentence. Whisper a self-talk patch. For now, we power down on purpose. Read a page of something that isn't a stimulus bomb. The off-ramp is not a luxury. It's tomorrow's build prime. Your RAS processes what you fed it. Give it one simple breadcrumb to follow when you wake. A small apartment at night, the window is cool under your palm. The city hums at a lower frequency. You lay out your focus rail card, write one tile in build, one in sustain, one in restore. You place your mouse card that says tile, so you'll brush it at dawn. You breathe, and as your exhale lengthens, your shoulders drop a notch. The night becomes a place you enter, not a cliff you fall from. A harder test. News breaks mid-morning. Your group chat erupts. You feel the tug, the social glue, the fear of missing the key thing. You do not aim for stoic detachment. You aim for agency, 3-gate in a breath. If it's relevant or relationship credible, you schedule a 5-minute fuel immediately after your current sprint. You make a thread capsule for the topic. State. Scan credible summaries. Pointer. One decision. Does this change our plan? Door. Open source AI. You finish your sprint, fuel with the capsule, and decide. The difference is not that you ignored the world, it's that you introduced sequence. Sequence is kindness to your prefrontal cortex. Kindness increases compliance. A cafe vignette to close the loop. Ezra is drafting an op-ed when a national event hits. The room tilts toward screens. Ezra's chest tightens. He runs the gate, writes a capsule, finishes his 8-minute sprint, then reads 2 sources he trusts and calls one person who lived the context. He adds 1 sentence to his op-ed that makes it truer, not louder. He seals with context integrated. Next, clarify claim 2. Open. Claim 2. He walks outside and feels cold air scrape his throat in the good way. He is not numb. He is intact. Feel your body again, the weight of your thighs, the small line of warmth where your forearm meets the desk, the cool on your wrists. Whisper, I choose what gets in. Identity forms at the gate as much as at the keyboard. You've been taught that discipline is saying no to yourself. Sometimes it is saying yes to the inputs that make the best version of you easier to access. Take a small step now. Write 1 fast window in the next 2 hours and 1 fuel menu of 3 items that serve your current scene. Pick 1 boredom bridge you'll cross today. If you want training wheels, make the bridge delicious. Peel an orange as slowly as you can, noticing the spray of oil from the skin and the stickiness on your fingertips. Then wash your hands and feel the temperature shift across your knuckles. Put your phone down 5 feet away and leave it there. You are an animal who learns by sensation. You are a builder who uses that animal wisely. When your mind protests with, "But what if I miss something?" answer honestly, "I will, and I will miss less of my life." This is not about shrinking your world, it's about strengthening your lens. A strong lens sees further. It also sees what is near with a tenderness you can work with. 1 more breath. Inhale to 4. Hold to 4. Exhale to 6. Feel the soft drop at the bottom. Look at your screen with eyes that are a degree wider. Ask the gate. Set the fast. Walk across the bridge for 5 minutes before you build. When you open your fuel window, choose food your future self will thank you for. Then seal with 1 line in your ledger. Inputs chosen, output grew. You are the awareness, not the feed. You are the author, not the algorithm. And you are teaching your brain a song it will hum without you soon. Small, steady, kind. There are days when your body arrives late to your life. Sleep was ragged, food was random, the world asked for 10 versions of you before noon. You open the laptop and your vision is grainy, like someone sanded the edges of your thoughts. Focus feels like a luxury item you can't afford. This chapter is for those days, the ones you used to label lost and then salvage with guilt. You don't need heroics, you need a way to scale focus down without dropping it. You'll learn the floor-ceiling plan and the triage triangle. Together, they turn messy days into workable ones. You'll also install a Physiology First protocol that takes 90 seconds and hands your prefrontal cortex back the keys. This isn't about pretending you're not tired. It's about steering while tired with a smaller wheel. Begin with the floor-ceiling plan. Floors are your minimum viable moves. Ceilings are your generous best when the wind is at your back. Most people live only at extremes. Collapse on the floor, fantasize about the ceiling, swing between the two like a door in a storm. You'll draw both on purpose for your 3 tracks: build, sustain, restore, so your nervous system never has to guess. On a strong day, your build ceiling might be 2 Keystone Hours. On a hard day, your build floor is 1 mini Keystone with a single 8-minute sprint. Sustained ceiling might be 3 tidy batches. The floor is clearing 10 messages with 1-line decisions. Restore's ceiling might be a slow walk and a hot shower. Feeling water map your shoulders. The floor is 3 breaths and a glass of water you notice passing down your throat. Floors protect momentum. Ceilings protect ambition. The gap between them is mercy. Picture a Tuesday that started with a child's fever and a train delay. The apartment smells like saline and toast. Your shoulders sit higher than usual. Your jaw feels wired. Old you would have burned an hour deciding whether to cancel the day or fake the ceiling and then fail. New you glances at a card where both ranges live. You pick floors across the board and write a tiny focus contract. For 12 minutes, build at the floor. The contract doesn't scold, it steadies. Halfway through, your breath has lengthened and your jaw unhooks by a millimeter. Mercy made room for work. Check your body now. Place your palm over your sternum and another over your lower belly. Inhale for 4 and feel which hand rises first. Let the lower one lead. Hold for 4 and notice the warmth under your top hand. Exhale for 6 and feel the air slide across your upper lip, warmer than it arrived. Small, physical, true. You're not conjuring energy, you're reallocating it to thinking. Now, the triage triangle. On messy days, your attention scatters because everything looks urgent. You'll sort with 3 words: protect, progress, park. Protect the one thing that prevents future chaos, even if it's small. Progress the one tile that moves the needle today, even if it's ugly. Park the tempting good work that doesn't belong to today. And write a thread capsule so it stops chewing on your ankle. You decide the triangle in 2 breaths and say it out loud. Language narrows the field. The salience network stops painting your whole life hazard yellow. A story from a hallway that smells faintly of disinfectant and coffee. Lena is a junior doctor on a day when the ward is overflowing. Her brain wants to sprint in all directions. Sprinting means tripping. She triages. Protect is updating allergies on new admits. Progress is finishing one discharge summary. Park is the education poster she loves. She tells a nurse her triangle out loud and writes a capsule for the poster. State, gathered images. Pointer, choose headline. Door, open doc, type 3 options. As she moves, the ward remains busy. Her nervous system doesn't drown because it has a shape to move through. Shapes save hours. Pause. Soften your gaze until you can see the left and right edges of your screen. Feel the chair answer the weight of your thighs. Let your tongue rest at the floor of your mouth. Notice the instant easing at the base of your skull. This is your body offering you a corridor where there was a wall. On the hardest days, you add Physiology First. Biology wins in the short term. Partner with it. The protocol is a 90-second loop. Light, breath, move. Light means you give your eyes real brightness. Stand at a window or step outside and let daylight hit your retinas for 20 seconds, even if the sky is gray. Breath means 1, 4, 4, 6, with a whispered count you can hear. Move means 30 seconds of slow calf raises or a wall push, enough to send a clear pulse up through your baroreceptors and tell your midbrain, we're mobilized on purpose. Blood flow shifts. The amygdala lowers the siren. The prefrontal picks up the pen. You didn't make yourself superhuman. You made yourself ready enough. Morning scene with airport carpet and recycled air. Troy is flying to a pitch after a 5-hour night. He feels the papery dryness in his eyes and a sandpaper layer on his thoughts. At the gate he runs Physiology First. He steps into the thin pale light by the window, breathes 4, 4, 6 once, lifts his heels and lowers them to the floor with deliberate slowness. The world doesn't transform, his access does. On the plane, he writes a focus contract at the floor. 8 minutes, revise opener. He lays a tile and seals with a one-line summary. The tile is inelegant and enough. If your critic whispers that floors are excuses, remember the 5% edge. After you meet the floor, you ask whether a 5% lift would matter. If yes, you take one small step up the staircase. If not, you declare the floor honorable and protect Restore. You will be tempted to steal from Restore because you think you can outthink fatigue. Fatigue is not an argument, it is chemistry. When you honor Restore, you buy tomorrow's clarity at a discount. Notice the temperature at your wrists, usually a degree cooler than your forearms. Turn your head slowly left, then right, like you're saying no to an old habit. Muscles drop their shoulders when you move them kindly. There's a trap on messy days. Hiding in sustain because build feels risky. To disarm it, pair your triangle with a starter stitch. A stitch is the smallest sensory linked act that sews you into the build tile. Rename the file and type the first ugly verb while you exhale. Duplicate the artboard and draw one crooked box. Run tests and read one failure aloud. You stitch yourself into the cloth of the work. Once stitched, you're less likely to be blown off by stray gusts, internal or external. An afternoon kitchen with the honey smell of dish soap. Priya has slept 3 hours. The deck is due tomorrow. She wants to alphabetize her files as penance. She uses a starter stitch. She opens the deck, jumps to slide 1, changes discuss to decide, and writes one sub-bullet indicating the decision. The change is microscopic. It unlocks a current. She breathes. She stitches again on slide 2. The decision path appears like a tide line she can follow, even while tired. Sometimes messy days come from adrenaline peaks you didn't choose. A conflict, a scare. Your body is braced as if the floor is tilting. For that, you add a 1-minute gray to green. Gray is the tunnel vision of stress. Green is the wider field where choices live. You spend 20 seconds naming 5 neutral objects you can see, 5 sensations you can feel, 5 sounds you can hear. No poetry, just naming. Then you choose your floor tile and start on the exhale. This is not mindfulness for its own sake. It is a prefrontal wake-up routine. Check your breath. If it's fast, do one exhale that's longer than you want, like fogging glass secretly. Feel your shoulders slide down a fraction. The brain rides that exhale like a train, moving from a noisy station to a quieter one. Let's layer in a relationship version. Messy days are often crowded with other people's needs. You will use the gentle gait. It's a phrase that buys you sequence without severing connection. I want to give this a real look. I can do a first pass at 2:15. The phrase signals care and sets a timestamp. Pair it with the expectation echo so the other person knows what first pass means today. 3 bullets, not a rewrite. Your social brain relaxes because belonging is preserved. Your build floor is preserved because the ask has a frame. Seen in a bustling open office, the air humming with HVAC and a dozen conversations. Omar gets a "got a sec?" that could swallow his afternoon. He breathes once, smiles with his eyes, and says, "I want to give this a real look. I can do a first pass at 3:10, 3 bullets on risk or next steps." The requester nods. Omar's day doesn't become heroic, it becomes intact. On the biology front, food and water matter because your prefrontal cortex is a diva with glucose preferences. Don't build an identity around snacks, but do keep a recovery microdose ready. A glass of water you actually notice drinking, a handful of nuts or fruit, 2 minutes by a window, 4 slow breaths. Microdoses aren't virtue signals, they're lane changes. Your brain uses the new lane to re-enter the tile. If you feel silly noticing the water's cool path down your throat, remember that your interoceptive map is the dashboard you actually drive from. Update it on purpose. A tired evening scene with lamplight and the sweet dust smell of old paper. Yara promised herself a Keystone Hour and instead carried a parent to bed, answered 2 messages, and now sits with a body that wants to turn into a couch. She picks the build floor. Physiology First, recovery. Microdose, water for slower. Breaths. Starter stitch. She titles a blank doc, "Messy Openers," and types 3 bad first sentences, whispering the self-talk patch. For now, I'm a person who writes poorly on purpose. The hour doesn't ignite, it warms. Warmth is enough. Science bridge, brief and practical. Floors and ceilings pre-commit you at a low cognitive cost. When you're tired, pre-commitments spare glucose. Triage narrows the salience network so it stops flagging the whole horizon as threat. Light and slow movement shift autonomic balance toward a state where the prefrontal can prioritize again. Gray to green recruits sensory cortices to widen attention, which down-regulates limbic dominance. Starter stitches leverage the initiation loops of the basal ganglia. Tiny motor actions are easier to start than abstract thought. Your brain isn't being stubborn, it's being efficient. Give it efficient doors. Take a sensory inventory. Feel the seam of your sock against your outer toe, the temperature along your forearms, the pressure at your sit bones. Name one scent, even if it's faint. Soap, wood, paper, rain. Naming makes this moment textured, not monolithic. Texture is ground. On truly thin days, run the half-deck rule. Half the ambition, double the kindness, keep the contract. If your ceiling was 2 scenes, your day becomes 1 scene and a ledger line. If your sustained ceiling was inbox to 10, your day becomes inbox to 20 with 1 clean decision per 5. If your restore ceiling was walk 10, shower, your day becomes 3 breaths, face rinse, eyes closed for 1 minute. You hold yourself to your floors with tenderness. not loopholes. You don't call it a fail. You call it a kept agreement. Identity forms at the scale of kept agreements. A city night vignette, rain tattoos, a fast pattern on the window, light pools on the desk in a small warm lake. Mateo, who has been steady for weeks, hits a wall. He writes half deck at the top of a card and circles it. He runs a mini keystone and seals with a line. Scene sketched, next example. Open, sick, could too. He walks to the sink, lets cold water run across his wrists and feels the temperature shift like a small bell from metal to skin to breath. He goes to bed earlier than he planned. The next morning he is not ashamed. He has evidence. Even thin, he returned. There's a temptation to fix fatigue with drama. New apps, new rituals, new identities? Don't. Add weight only to moves you can sustain on bad days. If a tool breaks at the floor, it's not a tool. It's a costume. The best tools survive your messiest mornings because they were built to. One breath, one stitch, one triangle, one floor. Check your eyes. If they are narrow and hard, widen them a degree. Look at the edges of the room, the soft shadow under the table, the way light lands on your hands. Wide eyes to start, narrow eyes to touch the tile, wide again to seal. This zoom rhythm keeps your nervous system from locking into target mode so hard that it mistakes doing for threat. Let's tie it all together in a live drill for a day you did not order. You wake groggy. Physiology. First, before you touch your phone, light, breath, move. You choose floors across build, sustain, restore, and write them in one sentence each. You run the triage triangle aloud. You stitch into build with a single exhale and a single ugly verb. Mid-morning chaos arrives. You grade a green in 60 seconds, then gentle gate and ask. At noon, you take a microdose and lie to no one about what you can do. One mini keystone, then a ledger line. In late afternoon, you 5% edge a single tile and end intend with a fingertip to the next object so re-entry tomorrow is oiled. At night, you write a one-line harvest that includes the floor you kept. Thin day, steady floor, return proven. Your brain hums that line while you sleep. As you read this, feel the room again, the air across your wrists, the weight of your forearms, the quiet tick of a clock you never usually hear. Whisper the identity truth that floors teach. You are not your energy level. You are the awareness that chooses a proportionate move. You don't glamorize grinding. You trust architecture. Architecture carries on thin days. Before you move on, pick your 3 floors for tomorrow and write them where your hand will land. Under each, write the smallest starter stitch. Circle the triangle you'll run if chaos knocks. Set one boundary bell at the edge of your build floor so you don't trade it for noise. Then stand up, rinse your face or sip water, and feel the temperature change. Tell your body a simple story. This moment is different from the last, and we can begin again. Breathe once more. Inhale to 4, hold to 4, exhale to 6. Feel your jaw unlock and your shoulders drop a notch you don't have to earn. The day you have is the day you work with. The floor is holy. The ceiling is there when the weather shifts. You are the awareness, not the weather. You are the mover who returns, even tired, even messy, one clean inch at a time. You've gathered tools, not trophies. The real test is what happens when weeks stack into months and the weather of your life keeps changing. Focus that lasts isn't an endless sprint. It's a set of living agreements that evolve without drama. Today, you'll thread your daily resets into a long arc so you don't rebuild from scratch every Monday. You'll learn the North Star Spec and the identity beads, 2 ways to translate what matters into tiles you can actually lay, week after week. We'll add a small maintenance ritual, the anti-entropy sweep, so your systems don't gather dust and start lying to you. This is about scale, not speed, about steering your seasons with the same quiet force that moved your minutes. Begin by standing in a room you know. Notice the scent in the air, coffee ghost, paper, rain on concrete. Feel the exact weight of your heels through the floor. Let your jaw soften until your teeth hover without touching. Inhale for 4, pause, exhale for 6, and listen to the thread of air leaving. These signals tell your nervous system there is room to think. With room, we write the North Star Spec. A spec is not a wish. It's a 1-page conversation between your values and your tiles. You answer 3 prompts in full sentences, as if speaking to a future teammate who happens to be you. What you refuse to trade, what you're here to build, and how progress will look in 2-minute slices. You don't write prose to impress yourself. You write handles your hands can grab. Picture Talia, a mid-level product lead with a brain like a crowded train station. She wants time with her kid that isn't polluted by work, and she wants to ship features that actually reduce user churn. Her North Star Spec opens, "I will not trade bedtime story presents for reactive just checking. I am building a trustworthy onboarding that halves confusion. Progress will look like 1 user story clarified per day and 1 family ritual protected by a boundary bell." She prints it on a plain sheet and tapes it where her eyes land. Each morning, she reads it once out loud. The reading isn't a pep talk, it's RAS retargeting. The brain shows you what you teach it to expect. For Talia, that becomes a single story clarified before lunch and a bell that rings at 7:45 p.m. Whether or not a day is heroic, she has a spec to measure true against, not a mood. Pause and map the temperature along your forearms. Cooler on top, warmer where skin faces your body. Wide your gaze a degree so you can see the screen edges and the shadow underneath. Your body keeps offering corridors. Walk them. The second frame is the identity beads. Beads are tiny statements of who you're becoming, threaded onto days until they form a strand you can feel in your fingers. A bead is smaller than a goal and bigger than a tile. I am the person who asks 1 clarifying question in every meeting. I am the writer who lays 1 ugly paragraph before messages. I am the friend who replies with a time I can actually keep. Each bead is chosen, not inherited, and it earns its place with a single, repeatable proof. You don't carry 20 beads, you carry 3. When a weak phrase, the beads keep the necklace from snapping. That's not poetry, that's physics of trust. Here's how it lands in a life that smells like printer ink and lunch microwaves. Owen runs a small legal practice and drowns in other people's emergencies. He chooses 3 beads and threads them with his ledger. Monday, he writes at the top, questioner, opener, keeper. Questioner, 1 clarifying question in the 9 a.m. call. Opener, 1 paragraph before messages at 8:30. Keeper, a reply that includes a timestamp he honors. The week stubbornly misbehaves, but the beads remain. On Friday, tired and a little wired, he counts 5. Days where the beads got their proof. His identity doesn't inflate, it solidifies. You are what you repeatedly prove in small ways when no one is clapping. Breathe. Feel the base of your skull where neck meets head. Imagine warmth there, like a small coin heated by sun. Let your shoulders slide down 1 notch. The world gains depth when your body hears that it is safe to choose. To keep the spec and beads alive, you'll run the anti-entropy sweep. Entropy is the quiet drift that turns systems into junk drawers. The sweep is a 15-minute ritual once a week where you make 3 tiny repairs. You archive obsolete notes so your search returns truth. You relabel 1 digital folder so future you doesn't swear it past you. And you rewrite 1 focus rail card so next week's 3 tracks are fresh. It's not a spring cleaning. It's a weekly wiping of the lens. The reward isn't neatness, it's reduced cognitive friction. Your RAS stops flagging clutter as threat and returns to highlighting what serves the spec. A Sunday scene. Sun on the wall like a sheet of pale gold. An old record hums with a soft hiss under the music. Jay does the sweep on the dining table. He deletes a maybe later board that has only bred guilt. He renames MISC to Invoices 2025 and moves 3 files. He writes a new focus rail with build onboarding copy pass, sustain, vendor recon, restore, park walk. The whole thing takes less time than 1 doom scroll. He feels the faintest easing behind his eyes, as if a pressure valve turned a millimeter. Maintenance is love in a language your nervous system understands. Identity work can still wobble when the season shifts. Holidays arrive, a baby, a move, a crisis. You'll use the season switch, a 2-sentence announcement to your brain and your circle. For 8 weeks, my build window moves to mornings. My reply ladder loosens in afternoons. You also add what will not change. The beads remain. This isn't permission to drift, it's clarity. When contexts change and you pretend they don't, your amygdala screams until you either collapse or fight. When you name the change and pre-decide what stays, safety returns. There's a winter office lit by low, unflattering daylight and a breath that fogs the window. Mira is a senior engineer whose father gets sick. She season switches. Mornings are hospital. Build moves to 6:30, 7:30, keep her stay. The team adapts because she told a true story with boundaries. Her focus tiles shrink, her ledger doesn't. She lays 1 tile per day. Tests for Module A. Draft of handoff note. Risk list for Q1. The beads keep their proofs. When spring returns, she doesn't have to reinvent focus. She returns to the old rails she never let rust. Feel the skin at your wrists. Cool air meets warm blood. Roll your shoulders gently. Listen to the fabric whisper. Exhale longer than feels necessary. Ride the drop at the end. These micro moves keep the door to choice open. Long arcs require a way to test and tune without self-judgment spirals. Enter the signal review. Once every 2 weeks, you sit with your ledger and ask 4 questions out loud in a room you can hear yourself in. What moved easily? What snagged? Which bead got proof? And which spec line went cloudy? No spreadsheets, no color codes, just a page with 4 short answers. If something snagged, you pick a smaller bead, not a bigger whip. If a spec line went cloudy, you rewrite it in plainer language. Reviews aren't court, they're calibration. An office with a plant leaning toward the light. Danny reads, moved easily, Keystone Hour. Snagged, late day sustain leaks. Bead proof, questioner every meeting. Cloudy spec, reduced churn, rewrite to first session clarity, 2 clicks to value. She posts the new line above her monitor. The next month, the team ships a micro-tutorial that trims first session confusion by 1/3. She didn't get there by ambition. She got there by clarity that her hands could act on. While we calibrate, we also protect against an old thief. Invisible obligations that masquerade as kindness. You'll use the boundary reset conversation, a 2-minute script you can run with bosses, clients, or loved ones when the defaults you set months ago no longer fit. It has 3 beats: appreciation, new constraint, concrete agreement. I appreciate how quickly we've been iterating. With the new scope, I need 1 protected morning block to keep shipping. Can we agree that I'll be off Slack 8:10 and deliver a noon summary? Spoken calmly, not as an ask for permission, but as a path to better outcomes. Clean boundaries are circulation. They deliver oxygen to your build so you can offer better blood to your world. A glass-walled conference room with the dry smell of markers and ambition. Kenzie runs the reset with her founder. Appreciate the trust. With QA doubling, I need mornings quiet. I'll send the noon snapshot daily. If there's a fire, tag blocker. I'll break the ladder. The founder's shoulders drop because the unknown became known. Kenzie's shoulders drop because mornings are hers again. The spec holds, not because the world got nicer, but because she defined the edges. Breathe. Feel your tongue rest low. The base of your skull answers with an ease that's almost invisible. Notice a sound in the room you usually ignore. Let it be part of the scene, not an intrusion. Scenes are how your brain remembers. We are painting them on purpose. We'll set a time horizon that doesn't spook your amygdala. Big goals often feel like cliffs. You'll use the horizon weave. 7 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, threaded with the same beads. 7 days is the room you're in. 6 weeks is the corridor. 6 months is the neighborhood. You phrase each horizon as if describing films you're making, what the camera shows, what the character does. 7 days, you lay 1 paragraph before messages, 5 days out of 7. 6 weeks, you ship the onboarding error, copy and have I'm stuck emails. 6 months, you're the person whose mornings are sacred. Bedtime is rarely broken by work. The weave is not a plan baked in stone. It's a rope you can hold. If a strand frays, you don't fall. You retie it with a tile. A kitchen late at night with clean counters and the soft click of a fridge. Noor writes her weave on a single card. She tapes it above the kettle. Every time water boils, she reads it out loud. It becomes normal to be someone who honors mornings and writes a small thing first. She didn't manifest anything. She practiced hearing the same true lines until her hands believed them. We need a social ritual that keeps you from building alone in a cave. The Tiny Council is 3 people who trade weekly proof and run a 30-minute check-in with a simple structure. Each brings 1 bead, 1 ledger line, 1 barrier. The others offer 1 question and 1 2-minute help. No brain dumps, no shoulds. Council is a pressure valve and a mirror. It prevents the slow erosion of standards that happens when you only answer to your own moods. It also stops the opposite, the self-cruelty that pretends to be rigor. A cafe that smells like orange peel and fresh espresso, 3 laptops, 3 cards. Vivek shares, bead opener, got 4 of 5, ledger line, scene 2 drafted, barrier, afternoon leaks. Mari asks, what's the smallest door you can close from 2-3? Jen offers, I'll text you at 2:05 with end intend, then 1 tile. Laughter, a little eye roll, then it happens. Counsel isn't therapy, it's choreography. The dance is simple and repeated until it looks like grace. Sensory bow. Brush your fingertips together. Hear the faint fabric hiss. Feel the chair, the ground, the cool on your wrists. If your eyes have narrowed, widen them a degree. If your breath is in your chest, invite it lower. The nervous system keeps the score. We're teaching it a kinder game. Let's address relapse, which is not a failure, but a human rhythm. You'll install the return map. It's a single page that lists your fastest re-entry moves when you've slipped for a week. Physiology. First at the window, one breath back, a mini keystone with a warm start, a ledger line, and one message to your tiny council. Back on the rail today, one tile down. You put the map somewhere unlosable, taped inside a cabinet, the first page of your notebook, the lock screen of your phone. When you need it, you don't debate. You follow a recipe. Debates burn glucose. Recipes build dinner. A hallway outside a home office, carpet underfoot, the smell of laundry and rain. After travel, jet lingers in drift. The return map stares from the inside of the closet door. He laughs, breathes, steps to the window, lets gray daylight touch his eyes, then runs the mini keystone. 8 minutes. Later, a small tile exists. A message pings his counsel. The old voice says, "Not enough." The new voice says, "A bead got proof." Tiles stack faster than shame. That's neuroplasticity wearing a sweater. We will make performance visible without turning it into a scoreboard that makes you chase numbers instead of truth. You'll build the quiet dashboard. It's 3 hand-drawn dials on a card. Return rate, bead proof, restore kept. Once a week you pencil in where the needle sits, not with math, but with feel. You're measuring rhythm, not volume. The dashboard is not for bragging. It's a private check that dampens the amygdala's all-or-nothing stories. When the needles dip, you don't lash. You run the return map and adjust the season switch or the sweep as needed. An office where the afternoon light goes blue. Hal draws his dials and marks them. Return rate high, bead proof medium, restore kept low. He doesn't make a speech. He sets a boundary bell at 9 p.m. and chooses an evening off-ramp with the scan line. The week after, restore kept climbs. His work didn't suffer. It got steadier because the person steering it was rested. Science bridge practical and short. A North Star Spec reduces uncertainty, which reduces limbic activation. The prefrontal cortex performs executive planning better when the why is concrete. Identity beads leverage habit loops. A small, consistent cue paired with action builds identity-level beliefs through prediction and confirmation. Anti-entropy sweeps lower working memory load by clearing stale cues. Season switches and return maps prevent learned helplessness by preserving agency. The mere act of pre-deciding reinstates controllability, which quiets the salience network. Councils add social accountability without shame. Language shared aloud recruits networks that stabilize intentions. You're not chasing hacks. You're installing reliability. Feel your body again. The warmth across your sternum under your palm. The cool ribbon of air at your nostrils. The soft weight where your thighs meet the chair. Whisper a line you'll keep. I work at the speed of the next true tile. Identity is hearing yourself say that and then watching your hands agree. One more story to lay track into the next month. A small studio apartment at dawn. Plant leaves shine like coins in early light. The city hasn't turned its volume up yet. Rosa, a community organizer, has 3 plates spinning, a grant, a campaign, and a sister who might move in. She writes her North Star Spec. I protect dusk with my sister. I build a volunteer path that requires 1 decision, not 4. Progress is 1 message that moves a human every day. Her beads: opener, questioner, keeper. Her sweep is on Sundays, season switch set for the month with dusk off. Her quiet dashboard is taped to the wall with washi tape that looks like little stars. The month is still messy. The campaign misprints 200 flyers. The landlord complains. But Rosa isn't whipped around by weather. She returns. She lays a tiny tile each dawn before the world wakes. She asks one clarifying question in every meeting. She keeps one small promise to a person each day. The necklace holds. Work that matters accumulates in unglamorous inches. Dusk with her sister is protected by a bell. The bell becomes the sound of a life aligned. Now choose your own bead. Say it out loud, present tense, smaller than pride, big enough to steer. Tie it to a proof you can collect daily without drama. Write your North Star Spec in sentences, a busy future you will understand. Schedule an anti-entropy sweep this week. If your season is shifting, write the 2 sentences that tell the truth about it. Invite 2 humans you trust into a tiny council and name the rhythm. Draw 3 dials by hand and mark them without judgment. Tape your return map where your hand will land on a hard Monday. This is architecture. Architecture is kindness scaled over time. Breathe once more. Inhale to 4, hold to 4, exhale to 6. Feel the drop at the end. Let your shoulders soften and your gaze widen until the room has edges again. Whisper the line that threads through all 12 chapters you're about to complete. You are the awareness that returns, the person who lays scenes and keeps small contracts, the builder of a nervous system that trusts you. The world will keep weathering. You will keep choosing. And because you are choosing with a speck, with beads, with a sweep and a map and a council, your choices will add up to something you can stand inside with pride. A life that fits in your hands, built by breaths and tiles and seasons that you named. When you finish reading, open a blank note and write your spec's first sentence. Put your bead proof in today's ledger before you check a single message. Set a bell for dusk or dawn and treat it like a chapel bell. When it rings, you honor what you said. That sound will become memory. Memory will become reflex. Reflex will become character. That's how focus goes from tactic to temperament. You are not a person fighting distraction. You are a person building a story out of minutes, and you are only ever one tiny reset away from being back on the rail. You've carried these tools across ordinary hours and unruly ones. Today, we weave them into a closing ritual that doesn't end the work. It renews it. Think of this final session as sealing a new operating system into muscle and breath. You'll learn 2 capstones, the Compass Review and the Future Rehearsal. The Compass Review is a 4-minute loop that consolidates learning so your brain stops misplacing progress. The Future Rehearsal is a 30-second scene you will play daily to prime your reticular activating system to find the doors you've built. We'll also set a legacy line, a single sentence that will outlive mood, and a stone and water ritual to close each day with dignity. You won't chase focus after this. You'll return to it like a doorway you can find in the dark. Begin here, in a real body. Unclench your toes inside your shoes. Let your tongue rest at the floor of your mouth. Inhale to 4 and feel cool air trace the inside of your nostrils. Hold to 4 and sense the weight of your thighs meeting the chair. Exhale to 6 and follow the warmth across your upper lip. This is not flourish. It's the hour mark of your nervous system, telling your cortex, we're home enough to choose. The Compass Review runs like this: north, east, south, west. North is the value you protected today, a boundary kept, a bead proven. Say it in one sentence you could explain to a friend. East is the next small light you saw. An insight, a rule, a micro-adjustment that cut friction. South is what grounded you, one sensation, one breath, one body cue that actually worked. West is where you'll set the sun, what you'll close so it doesn't leak into sleep. 4 directions, 4 lines. You write them not to perform, but to compress the day into memory your habit brain can index. Tomorrow, you'll start with less searching because you named what mattered. Picture Hannah at her kitchen table at 9:12 p.m., lamplight warm, a citrus smell from the glass she rinsed, her day frayed around lunch and mended with a mini Keystone. North, I protected dawn for one ugly paragraph. East, 2-window made my afternoon emails clean. South, the belly hand worked, exhale loosened my jaw. West, close slide deck, set boundary bell for 8 a.m. It takes 90 seconds. The room feels wider by an inch. This is how you install gains, not by shouting but by naming. Pause and listen. Is there a low hum, a vent, a hallway, distant tires on wet road? Let it be part of the scene. Roll one shoulder, then the other. Feel fabric whisper across your collar. You're marking this session with sensation, so your mind remembers where to find it later. Now, the future rehearsal. Athletes and performers run mental practice because the nervous system can't tell high-resolution imagination from action. You will borrow that edge, stripped of theatrics. Each morning, before messages, breathe 4-4-6 once and play a tiny film. A cue firing, a one breath back, a named focus tile, your hand starting while the exhale is still leaving. 30 seconds. You end the film by seeing yourself write the ledger line, tile laid. The point isn't inspiration, it's priming. Your RAS will look for the cue it's been fed. When it appears, your hands will be ready. A story to bind this. Zara, who rebuilt her afternoons with the latency ladder, adds future rehearsal. She stands at the window, feels the cool glass against her palm, breathes, and pictures. 1:30 p.m. Slack muted, 2-window open. Subject, decide, typed. Shoulders, a notch lower. She watches her hand land on the keyboard while the exhale leaves. Then she opens her real laptop and does exactly that. It is not magic. It is rehearsal repeated until the body thinks, we've done this. Ease follows predictability. Predictability is a gift you can give yourself. Another beat of body. Rub your fingertips together until you hear the faint hiss of skin and fabric. Feel the slight tack where your fingerprints catch. Widen your gaze so you can see the screen edges and the shadow below. Wide eyes whisper safety. Safety frees choice. The legacy line comes next. It's the smallest sentence that, if you lived it daily, would change the texture of your hours. It must be behavioral, present tense, and tile-sized. I return within 90 seconds. I lay one ugly paragraph before messages. I ask one clarifying question in every meeting. You'll write it on your focus rail, your ledger, and one place your hand will land. You'll whisper it as you exhale before your first tile. The line becomes the quiet drum your day marches to. When storms blow, drums keep walkers together. Let me put you in a tin-roofed workshop that smells like cut wood and oil. Mateo makes furniture on weekends and code on weekdays. His legacy line becomes, I begin while exhaling. He writes it on blue tape and sticks it to his monitor, his notebook, and the edge of his workbench. Monday morning, he wants to sort email by sender. The tape stares. He breathes out and types the first sentence of a bug report instead. Saturday, he breathes out and planes the first stroke of a stubborn board. The line is not law, it is rhythm. Rhythm builds things. You've met rituals, sanctuary minute, end intend, reset circuit. We'll add stone and water to protect endings. Stone is one thing you set down at day's close that will not move overnight. A document open to the exact line you'll touch. A card that says Open ESSEC 2. A pen on the paragraph you'll revise. Water is one sensation you invite. A rinse of your face noticing temperature. A glass of water you truly feel passing the throat. A breath at the window with night air cool against your cheeks. Stone anchors intention. Water signals the nervous system to let go. You sleep differently when you end with a stone and a stream. A small apartment, late, the window cool, city hum a low engine. Lila closes her laptop on a slide that says, Decide, and places a sticky 8:15 verb check. She sets a glass by the sink and drinks slowly where the light hits the rim and scatters on the counter like quiet stars. She breathes 4-4-6 once, feeling her shoulders drop. Stone. Water. The day completes. Tomorrow's doorway gleams because she polished it with seconds. Most people squander this kind of minute. You will learn to harvest it. Breathe again. Inhale to 4. Hold. Exhale to 6. And hear the whisper your breath makes. If your jaw has crept upward, let molars float apart. Feel the base of your skull loosened by a degree. The details of presence are the glue of practice. You may worry that a life of tiles is small. That's a superstition taught by drama. Small is how the brain changes safely and lastingly. The big things you care about, craft, love, service, are mosaics of tiles. Nobody builds a cathedral by lifting a cathedral. They stack stones. You have learned to stack in a body that trusts you. That trust is the rarest productivity in the world. A nervous system that doesn't flinch when you ask it to begin. We'll close the loop with one last field test in 3 settings: work, relationship, and self, so the tools don't live only on paper. Work first. A Thursday afternoon. The air has that stale edge of too many people and not enough open windows. Your founder just changed a spec. Your heart tightens, heat behind the eyes. You run the 90-second weather rule. Notice the heat. Name, frustration. Normalized direction changes happen. Narrow, rewrite acceptance criteria line 1. Nudge hands to the dock while exhaling. You expectation. Echo. Confirming the change is X, I'll send 3 bullets by 4:10. U2 window, end intend, then write your compass review at day's end. The change doesn't own you. You step to your tile on command. Relationship. A kitchen with the sound of a pan that might burn, voices slightly faster than usual. You feel the scroll magnet in your pocket. Distraction. Dissection. Urge to flee. 7. Breath. Then rinse 2 plates for 2 minutes. You use the 2-beat check. Are you pressed or upset with me? The answer is pressed. You run a gentle gait. I want to give this a real look. I can do a first pass at 8:30. Connection remains in the room because you created safety with clarity. Later, Stone and Water closes the day. The ledger holds a line that reads, kept presence in a hot minute. That line matters more than any perfect evening would have. Self. A Saturday dawn. The plant by the window tilts toward pale light. You want to watch other people's mornings. Future rehearsal. You picture your own hands opening the dock and writing 12 clumsy words while exhaling. Keystone Hour runs. Warm, aim, 3 sprints, seal. The self-talk patch catches the whisper that you don't have it today. For now, I write badly on purpose. You lay a tile. The rest of the day is yours because you kept the soft promise early. Check the skin at your wrists. Cool. Name it. Notice the weight of your forearms. Solid. Name it. This habit of naming is not cute. It shifts resources from alarm to action. Your body stops guessing. It starts cooperating. What about failure months from now? It will visit. Your return map hangs where your hand will land. Physiology First, one breath back, mini Keystone, ledger line. Message to the tiny council. Back on rail, one tile down. The council replies with a question or a nudge. You do not rebuild identity with a speech. You rebuild it with proof on thin days. Floors hold, ceilings wait. You move. If you ever fear that the world will punish your boundaries, remember that clarity is a social sedative. Expectation. Echoes, not now pivots. Boundary bells. They calm the tribe because they replace guessing with rhythm. People adapt faster than your anxiety predicts. They trust people who keep small promises, even more than people who sprint into every fire. Be that person. It is not selfish. It is service with an oxygen line. Let's formalize the last routine you'll adopt, the first and final 45. In the first 45 minutes, you're truly yours each day. You run future rehearsal, a keystone or mini keystone, and write one compass north line. In the final 45, you're truly yours. You run compass review and stone and water. If a day steals one of these windows, you keep the other as if it were sacred. Sacred here means protected by a bell, defined by a breath. 2 small windows frame entire weeks. Frames keep art from warping. A final anecdote to carry in your pocket. Now, as a nurse who also writes, and the year has been a weather system, she chose the legacy line. I begin while exhaling, taped it to her locker and her laptop. She adopted first and final 45. Some weeks she kept both, some weeks only one. Over months her ledger filled with quiet rails. Scene sketch, 3 bullets, debrief questions. She missed days. She returned within 90 seconds the next day. She wrote a book in rooms that smelled like antiseptic and early morning coffee. She didn't tell herself she was unstoppable. She proved she was returnable. That's stronger. Breathe once more, not as performance, but as punctuation. Inhale to 4. Hold. Exhale to 6. Feel the drop at the bottom. Lift your gaze a degree and notice the edges of your room. You are a mammal in light and air, with a brain that can learn, a body that can anchor, and a life that can be built from seconds. The weather will do what weather does. Your job will not change. To return, to lay a tile, to keep a tiny contract, to close with stone and water, to wake with a film of the next honest move. Before you leave this chapter, choose your legacy line out loud. Write it where your hand will land. Schedule your compass review, north, east, south, west, at a time you can keep. Decide what your stone will be tonight and what water will be. Tell one person in your tiny council the hour your bell will ring tomorrow. Then set the bell. You do not need to feel ready. You need to begin while exhaling. Remember the line you've earned through practice, the identity shift that has threaded every page. You are the awareness, not the weather. The author, not the algorithm. The mover who returns. Doors you couldn't see 6 months ago now sit in your hands like keys. You don't knock. You enter, you work, you seal, you rest, you repeat. That is what unstoppable looks like up close. Quiet, accurate, kind. One last sensory bow. Place your palm on your sternum, your other hand on your lower belly. Feel warmth, weight, breath. Say it as if you were telling the truth to someone you love. I return within 90 seconds. Begin the smallest next tile. while the breath is still leaving. The book closes. The practice doesn't.